Hello and welcome to Trash Talkin podcast. I'm your host Stu, or you may know me as SMTV. Today marks the first episode of the Halloween movie marathon series that we have going on here. I'm going to be joined with super scary Simon Bond, and we're going to be talking about four awesome films: Alien, Aliens, The Thing 1982, and The Thing 2011. So strap in, get the popcorn ready, and don't get too spooked. But before we start the episode, I want to take some time to really thank you all for listening. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. But I want to give a special thank you to the guys over on Patreon. We have Ethan Brown, Jaggy Sean Schofield, the legendary Alexander Toon, and the one, the only, Vicky Rutter. Thank you all so much. And if you too would like your name shouted out at the start of every episode of Trash Talkin, head over to the link in the description, click on Patreon, and check out the membership options. Shall we get on with Trash Talkin? Hello, yes, so welcome to this episode. We are going to be covering Aliens, The Thing, and The Thing twice. I'm joined with my good friend Simon Bond. Good evening. How the hell are you?
Hello. Good day to you, sir. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm gravy, babe. I'm excited to when as soon as you were like, which films do you want to talk about? I was like, I really hope no one has these ones. I was like, yeah, those ones straight away.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, put a few weeks out and you were quick enough to jump on it. Ben jumped straight on the zombie week. And yeah, I think you've chose if you were on, what's it called? Mastermind, this would potentially be your chosen subject.
Yeah, this is in my wheelhouse, which is why I was like, I like the other stuff, but I was like, this is all me, bro. All me. Science fiction, horror, all me.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Can you remember when you first saw these films as a young chap?
Well, Aliens, I think my mum showed me before Alien. So I watched Aliens probably in the 90s at some point.
Yeah.
Then I watched Alien by myself. And then when I really started to get into films, people were talking about how good John Carpenter was. And I was like, oh, let's watch those of John. And I was like, oh, Big Trouble in Little China. That was a John Carpenter film. And then, oh, Halloween was a John Carpenter film.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'll try out The Thing, which is great. But yeah, I would say I love all John Carpenter movies, but there is one John Carpenter movie that I genuinely hate.
And what's that?
Ghosts of Mars.
See, I've never even heard of that film, so it must be dreadful.
If you
sounds dreadful anyway.
If you want to watch some absolute trash science fiction horror, which is awful, randomly has Jason Statham in it, watch Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah.
It's so terrible.
You've sold it to me. I want to watch it now. Brilliant. So yeah, I've spent the last week just absolutely cramming these films in, with recording schedules and whatever. We had an episode last night. I had to double bill The Thing, so I'm shattered. Is short way of putting it. Shattered, but for a good reason, because I thoroughly enjoyed watching these. In fact, prior to even the week starting, I did Prometheus on the Saturday night, Covenant on the Sunday night, into Alien, then into Aliens, and that is truly it's just so good watching them in that order.
Yeah.
Because like Alien and Aliens didn't really have the lore as such.
No.
But with the newer films, they've definitely created something and tried to incorporate it, and it works so well that it's just as though it was always there, as far back as 1979.
Well, I do actually have a bone to pick with you, because Prometheus is a fantastic movie. I love it. Alien Covenant, what did you give it?
I think I gave it a 9.
That is about a 4 for me.
Oh, you're joking? I don't see why.
That movie.
Yeah.
Because it totally wrecks everything from Prometheus, I think.
Yeah.
Just kind of like Alien 3. Characters are already dead. You never saw what happened to them. They just give you a line of dialogue to say,
this is what happened. Yeah.
I've never laughed at an Alien film before. But in
Mm.
Alien Covenant, when David's like this and the alien goes like that,
Uh-huh.
I laughed so hard in the cinema. I've never laughed that hard at a serious movie before. Me and Carter were absolutely pissing ourselves, and we could not
Yeah.
take the film seriously after that point. That completely killed that film
As
for
if.
me.
No, wait. No, I love it. And Michael Fassbender in both films is
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. His performance is
extraordinary. Yeah.
yeah, he's top notch. Yeah, I do
Hmm.
like that bit of the film.
Okay, so I'm shit at films, so it's a good job I'm starting a
You're
film
not. You
series.
like what? Listen, some of the films I watch that I love, you would watch and go, "What is this load of shit?"
Yeah,
So it's fine.
it's all good. Give and take, give and
Mm.
take. Cool. So, as I've said, we've got Alien from 1979. We've got Aliens from 1986. The Thing, which was 1982. And then, of course, the prequel of The Thing, which is 2011. So, we're just going to go through them one by one. We've just been discussing before recording. I was worried that I'd written too many notes, but it turns out Simon is just as much a nerd as myself, so we may be here for a while.
No, if you
We've
like
both,
these films, you're definitely going to enjoy this,
yeah,
100%. And if you haven't seen them, I think this might edge people towards watching them. I think.
of course, of course. Yes, we both got a beer. It's Friday night. We're both
Hells
daddies
yeah,
now, so this is what
yeah.
dads do.
I've really been looking forward to this,
Yeah,
to sitting chatting with you and having a beer. So this is what my life is like now.
yeah. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Let's just do it all the time. This is like the dad's escape almost. Right.
I've
So
got um I've got a synopsis of each film. If you want me to read that out before we go with the film, or have you already done
yeah,
that?
no, I've done it, but please do. You're a guest, and yes, it'd be a pleasure for you to do that.
Where do you want to start? What do you want to start with?
We shall just start with Alien, I think.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll read the synopsis then. So for people that have never seen Alien before, uh, the crew of a spacecraft Nostromo intercept a distress signal from a planet and set out to investigate it. However, to their horror, they are attacked by an alien which later invades their ship.
Ooh,
Ooh.
spooky. Yes. So they're on the Nostromo. So it turns out they're just actually on the way back from their ship, but they just have there's like a precursor to their contracts where if they discover any um, extraterrestrial life, any signs of life, it's within their contract to go and check it out. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, land upon this planet, find a ship, and yeah, shit hits the fan basically. But yeah, just imagine like having the ability to go for what you think is a 20-minute nap and then waking up 30 years later
yeah,
um, to getting that call like, yeah, there might be some aliens on this planet. Go and check it out.
yeah.
It's not the kind of job I'd want to be doing, but
Well, I like the way in the film that they're all like they get up and they're kind of all like, "Oh, we're close to home," and they kind of go, "Actually,
yeah,
we're not. We've
hmm
been brought out early because this thing," and they're all like, "Oh, okay, that's a bit
that's
shit. We
it.
thought we were going home."
Hmm. Yeah, this seems to be like a common occurrence in the alien films. To be fair, because pretty sure this happens in um, Covenant as well. Exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Exactly the
similar in
same.
all of them. They're supposed to be going somewhere, but they actually go somewhere else.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. But just talking about the film itself, like how impressive it was for the time. Like you got to remember, it was 1979. This movie was made,
Yeah,
and you just compare it to movies that are being made even today, and how much better it looks.
yeah,
Like there's no obviously at the time there was no CGI, but you would you'd believe that this film was made today. Like watching Alien Romulus most recently. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I have not seen that yet. No.
You haven't, no spoilers, of course, but in comparison, like the two films, in terms of the Alien itself, like Alien looks just as good. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
in the defense of Romulus, it is all practical effects. To be fair,
Yeah.
so we just it's just timeless. It really is.
I
But
think
like
they've
the
done really well with because they didn't even have that much of a big budget, but it just shows if you
Mhm,
get the right effects team on stuff,
yeah,
and obviously you use Geiger's sort of
yeah,
direction with everything, it just created something that looks like nothing else. Like this film sets apart from so many others that have come. Started
Yeah.
everything. It started. I mean, I know that there was sci-fi horror before it, but
Hmm.
like shitty sort of 50s stuff. Some of the 70s stuff was okay. You know, you could say like stuff like Dark Star, John Carpenter's first little thing as well. But this literally started it all, combining space, horror, just straight away. You're like, from the first second, you're like, I'm already in this film.
I
Just
mean,
I'm in straight
hmm
away. So good.
yeah. I mean, it's everything about it, isn't it? Like just the way that the the ship is laid out as well. Like I just love it. Like the sliding doors, the chairs just sliding around, elevators,
Yeah,
and how they managed to make like the actors look. Um, we're talking about when they're actually in the alien ship now, when they could make the humans look completely dwarfed by it all.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It looked alien, which I thought was great. I mean, I watched the 4K remaster most recently, so it did help it with looking gorgeous.
yeah. I
Um,
think that there was a shot when they show the big when they show the chair with
with the
the
engineer,
guy in the chair.
yeah,
That's children in the suits
yeah,
to make it look bigger. They do that a lot in Alien. If you notice, you never notice, but
yeah,
if you were to study it really closely, they use children, so like small versions of the suit, to make everything else look massive, which is such a
yeah,
great, easy trick to do. Like, that's
yeah. But
incredible.
it works brilliantly because, as I say, they look dwarfed compared to that alien in the center.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to something earlier actually, and it's like they're knocking about in that room, the massive alien, and none of them seem to give a shit, do they? To be fair,
No, no, they don't care that
they
much. They don't
just
seem
walk
that like.
past it. Yeah, I found some eggs though. Awesome.
I think that's the same in all the Alien films, though. I'd say, apart from Aliens, where they find something,
Hmm.
and like if me and you were to discover an alien, like here, we would be like mind blown.
Yeah,
But they never really set up in that sort of universe if extraterrestrial life exists and to what scale apart from
yeah, yeah.
humans, because they never really mention. They mention bugs in the second one. They're marines, and they say, "Oh,
Hmm.
oh, it's going to be another bug hunt." But then you're thinking that's not aliens,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they never really tell you what else is out there, which is leaves a little bit of mystery, I think,
Hmm.
which is good.
Yeah. You don't know if this is just another weekend or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so as I say, notes have just been taken as I've been watching the film. So I've got a note: everyone is chain smoking. Everyone's chain smoking, and then that one engineer, the black guy. I don't know if they did it intentionally, like to be funny, but every single scene is just eating.
Yeah.
I thought he was just chewing gum, but it turns out he's genuinely just eating in every single scene. So I like that.
Well, with the smoking thing, I mean, it's the 70s.
Sign of the
Everyone
times.
in even in the 80s, everyone,
Hmm.
if you wanted a character to look cool, you give them a cigarette.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I was looking at the cast, and I'm looking at someone, and thinking I've seen them in something.
Mm.
Um, and I was looking at John Hurt to start with. I was racking my
Oh,
brains. What have I seen him in? And the one I know him from is playing Ollivander in Harry Potter.
oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Ollivander's wands. And then there was another one that scratching my head at, and it was Ian Holm. Like I couldn't believe the realization when I've figured out that Ian Holm, who plays oh, what's his name in Alien now? What characters does he play in Alien?
Oh, Ash.
Ash. He's Bilbo Baggins,
Yeah, of course.
of course. Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, if you've seen The Fifth Element as well, he plays the priest in that, which is great.
Oh, okay.
And talking to John Hurt, John Hurt's in another one of my favorite films, 1984, the British film with John Hurt, hands down one of my top 10 science fiction films. That is
Okay.
unbelievable.
Right, not one I've heard of, 1984, but if it comes recommended, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, book's good as well.
Yeah, nice.
Just a
Not a
complete nerd, basically.
right, so ship's computer mother detects a transmission from a nearby planet. We've already covered that. So they land on the planet LV-426. Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out to investigate. So I've put here, I love how incredibly spot on the designs of quite literally everything is translated from the original movie into the likes of Prometheus and Covenant.
Yeah.
Just how they were able to, look at the original movie and just recreate the scenery and everything because it's, as I say, it's timeless. So it
Yeah,
could
I
be
really
made
like
today.
inside how the ship looks. Like the
Hmm.
ship's like a weird shape. It's like a semicircle.
Yeah.
like, it's just a strange design. It looks alien, which is they could
Hmm.
have done like a saucer, which is very 1950s, but they went with a really weird design. Even the inside, the way that it's all sort of bunched up and goes around, and it just
Yeah.
looks just amazing.
So
They've done
unique.
such a good job in that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So they go inside, not bothered by this giant alien, but they find a room full of eggs, essentially. And I mean, personally, if I was walking into a room full of eggs, the last thing I'd be doing is approaching it. I'd be like getting back to the ship, but they persevere. Um, and yeah, they had jump scares in 1979.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Take a peek inside the egg, and what we learn to be a face hugger jumps out and grabs hold of his face. Cut
I
back to
love
the
the way that when they shine the light through it, and
Mhm.
it looks kind of see through, and
Yeah,
you can see something moving, and even that looks so good. And when it opens, it's like
yeah,
shit. This looks scary as hell. I do
yeah,
actually have a fact as well about that scene.
yeah. Okay.
There's like a blue light that's covering the eggs.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, those lasers were from the Who, the band, who were
Okay.
filming next door, and Ridley Scott was pally with them, saw that
Yeah.
they were testing out lasers for one of their shows, and borrowed them for that scene.
As if
What the fuck?
madness. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I never knew that. I never
Yeah.
knew that.
But I can see it. I can see it being used by the Who. Definitely. But yeah, cut back to the ship. Carry him onto he's like on a hospital bed almost, trying to figure out what the hell has just happened. And the first thing they think is quick, cut it off. Um, Unbeknownst to them, really bad idea. They cut it, bleeds, and the blood is actually acidic, and it ends up burning through the ship. Luckily, not all the way through. But
Yeah.
this is where we learn, how we're going to kill this thing, because cutting it is not going to work.
It's the
Essentially,
best idea for a defense mechanism. Because like animals have defense mechanisms.
yeah,
I think that is one of the coolest ideas, because even if you attack it, it could
hmm
still injure you even when it's being attacked, which makes it even more terrifying.
yeah, exactly. Like, what can you do? There is nothing you can do,
No,
essentially. So yeah, time passes, trying to figure out what to do, how they're going to rescue him when he just ends up coming back around, and the facehugger has let go of him, seems to have died, and he seems fine again. So they just carry on about the day. They are about to go back into cryo sleep at this point, if I remember rightly.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and the last thing that he wants before going to sleep is to have some food, because he's saying he's starving. So cut to the one of sci-fi's most famous scenes. It's got to be.
definitely.
Um, they're,
It's
they're
been
all just
parodied so many times in movies. It's
yeah.
just, yeah, it's legendary.
Hmm.
It's
So they're
great. I
all,
love the way that like they're all there, they're all chatting. It's kind of like a sitcom. Everyone's happy, they're all
yeah,
having a laugh, and that's what I love about the dialogue in this film, which is one of the things that I read about. It has people talking over each other,
yeah,
and people having conversations in the background. And at that time in movies, it would be conversation. You stop speaking, they start speaking.
yeah, yeah.
So Ridley Scott was really good with people talking about each other. It feels like these are real people.
Hmm.
I love that element of the film. He's really good at writing people.
Yeah. It all feels true to life, and it feels as though you're there with them, which adds
Yeah,
to the inclusion and how involved you feel in it. So it's great. And so they're all just scranning away, and he starts to seem as though he's choking, and he even gets like a pat on the back, like, "Come on, it's not that the food's not that bad." Until they realise, something's wrong, shit's hitting the fan, and we get the famous chest burster scene, which, as you say, has got to be like one of the most famous parodied everything scenes, not
yeah,
just in sci-fi, but in movie history.
definitely.
And certain films, I will say, from an earlier era, not even going back as far as 1979. Some of these scenes you think looked great at the time, but now they look a bit dated. Watching this now, it still looks awesome, I think.
The only bit that doesn't is when the alien runs off the
Oh, it
table.
slides off the table.
Like him coming out, the blood, him
Yeah.
just like everything looks great. But when the alien runs off, I always think,
Hmm.
they didn't have to have that bit. They could have just
No.
cut to it sort of going. They didn't have to
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
to it just coming out. So that bit's good. I'll get back to funny scenes because I think genuinely that this film has one of the funniest shots of all time. But
Okay.
we'll get to it later in the film. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, on about that being parodied. Am I right in thinking that's in Spaceballs? That
yeah, does the little dance.
yeah, that's it. Hello, my lady. Hello, my honey.
Hello, my lifetime girl.
I was scratching my brain earlier, thinking what was that from, and then it clicked that it was from Spaceballs.
Oh, it's great. Could you imagine though, like how terrifying that must have been in 1979, like not having
Yeah.
seen anything like that on film before,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden he goes on the table and this alien just literally boom straight out of him. People must have been like, "Holy shit,
Yeah,
that's incredible!" Like
definitely.
mind blowing.
Hmm. For sure. And then after that, I mean, they obviously know that there's some kind of creature on the ship that they need to watch out for. And the last time they see it, it was small little penis thing running around. So that's what they think they're chasing after, and they end up they break off into teams to try and find it, and they end up bumping into Jonesy, don't they? Or is that aliens?
Yes,
Is it this one?
yeah. He runs, doesn't he, into the room with all the water dripping.
Hmm. That's it. I mean, I've put here that I love that the first time that you see the alien, it is just hanging there. And if you hadn't seen Alien previously, you probably like genuinely wouldn't have known that was the alien because it was so well camouflaged. You'd have thought it was just part of the ship, like a
Yeah,
component in that
yeah,
room.
yeah.
Which I
That
love.
happens
That
again later in the film with the Ripley bit, where it's
that's
if you
it. Yeah.
hadn't, if when the first time you see the film, then you watch
Hmm.
it again and you go, "Oh shit, yeah,
It's
that's the
there.
fucking alien. It's literally there. That is crazy."
Hmm. That's it, and it reveals itself to kill Brett, and it's no longer this little tiny alien anymore. It's huge. It's like 9 foot plus, like giant, scary ass alien. Incredible design on the alien as
Oh,
well,
beautiful.
and uh, yeah, takes Brett. So scratch Brett off
I
off
will
the
say
shift
about the
list.
growing thing, there
Hmm.
in every single Alien film there were inconsistencies into how fast the alien grows.
Yeah.
Because in some of the films it takes ages. In
Mm.
some of the films it takes like 10 minutes and it's massive. So they've never quite sorted out how long it takes from the alien coming out of someone to grow to full size. So I
Hmm.
feel like that's a question that they've never really. I haven't seen Romulus, so they might answer in that, but they've never really answered, or sort of maybe they just go whatever the script relies on, that's what
Hmm.
happens. It doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
aliens fans are always like, how long? Is it 5 minutes? Is it an
Yeah. Yeah.
hour? Is it 3 days? We don't know how long it takes these things to grow. So I always
Hmm.
think about that because I'm like, oh shit, it's giant,
Yeah.
like really quickly.
That's it. I mean, they don't. There's no gauge of time. Is that it's just as though, quite literally, as if that was like a 10-minute break
Yeah,
between splitting off and actually finding it.
yeah.
Um, so a little note I've written here: crew expendable. I'm going to bring up some
Ooh.
stuff from Prometheus and Covenant. We know from watching Prometheus and Covenant that Peter Weyland wanted an extraterrestrial life form to be contained and returned to him. But now we know he's dead. A Wayland interest is simply continuing his wishes because there's speculation from Ripley that that may be the case because she goes and speaks to Mother, doesn't she?
She
And
does, yeah,
she gets the note on the screen, and it's essentially like return alien life form, crew expendable, basically saying
yeah,
even if it costs the entire team, we want this specimen.
yeah. I mean, yeah, because in this film you don't know why they want it, but in
Hmm.
the second one they say it's for weapons research.
Yeah.
So you're kind of thinking maybe they're sort of just they know about it, they just want it. But
Hmm.
then obviously now they know they exist by the second one, they go, right, we want these things to study them so we can make some, I don't know, make it into a weapon or whatever.
Yeah.
And then in Resurrection, they're actually doing that, aren't they? Trying
Hmm.
to develop them into weapons. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite interesting how it starts off so subtly and then it just ramps up throughout the films.
That's it. Builds into something else. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, we move on. We've got Ripley finds Dallas all slimed up. This is the point where they've he's actually been taken into the nest, which I think the nest ends up being that first room that they see with the chains and everything in there. Um, and I like in this film where if there's ever a film where it's someone saying kill me, they'll always be like, no, we're gonna save you. Whereas Ripley just doesn't give a fuck and just sets this guy on fire like in seconds. She's obviously seen what these aliens do to humans. They're like
Yeah.
use them as a host, and she's like, see you later. Sets
See you
someone
later,
on
mate. You're
fire.
out of here.
It's funny because during that scene as well, she's carrying Jonesy the cat. At this point, it's only Ripley and Jonesy that are left. And Jonesy the cat's just in this like suitcase, and she's just launching him around like, fucking get in there, see you later.
Yeah. She throws the thing as well,
Yeah.
doesn't she? But I love that. It's a great story of a woman and a cat because
Yeah.
she leaves him, then she realizes, and then she's
Yeah.
like, fuck, I cannot leave this cat. I
Yeah.
gotta go and get him. I can't leave him. And the alien ignores him because he's just like,
Yeah.
whatever, I can't bother. I want a human. I don't want you. You're tiny little
Mhm.
thing. Which is probably why the aliens ignore Newt in the first one. In
Yeah.
the second one,
Okay.
rather,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't know, maybe they're just too small. I don't know, or maybe something to do with children or small things. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Can I just go back to the Dallas dying scene
Of
quickly?
course. Yes.
So I in it's kind of weird how this film twists because in the beginning you would think Dallas is the lead
Yeah. Mhm.
because he goes to Mother. They show him by himself in quite a few scenes. He's in charge. He's telling everyone what to do. You can tell that Ripley's quite headstrong. But
Yeah.
as soon as Dallas dies, the film completely reverts to you watching Ripley.
Yeah.
And I like the way that it kind of does a twist on it's a male. Wait
Mhm.
a minute, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a female lead. I like that really shift in direction.
Yeah,
And
which
thing I
that'd
was
be
going to
good
say
if you
about
could see.
um,
Sorry, it'd be good if you were to see it for the first time. Obviously, we've watched it with the preconception that we
yeah,
know Ripley is the main character, but it would have been interesting to be part of the first audiences seeing it and being like, "Oh shit, they've killed the main character," not
yeah,
realizing obviously Ripley always was the main character.
yeah, yeah. I like that. That's great. It's just
Yeah,
great
yeah,
writing. What I was going to say about the Dallas death scene is the famous hug, the famous alien hug scene, where
yes, yeah,
he's it's one of the funniest shots of all time. If you pause it, it's just trying to give him a hug.
yeah.
Yeah,
This,
he's like looking around and it's really tense.
mhm.
And he's coming up and they're like, that's on your right. And he's like, get out of there. And then he turns around, the alien just goes, it's fucking amazing. There's so
Yeah.
many great screenshots of the alien just going like this. They could have done something scarier, but that makes it for me. I
Mhm.
that death so builds up so much to be so intense and then just
Wah, hello. This is whilst he's
I
in
love it.
the whilst he's in the vents, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's literally like showing no fear. I don't like we say. I don't know if alien life forms don't scare these people, but he's just like, yeah, sound. I'll go up in the vents.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll turn this corner. Oh, I'll go down these ladders. Like no
Yeah.
fear at all. And then gets the good old hug, and then that's him off the list as well.
Was this one of the first films to do scary vent chasing? I'm sure there was films before it, but in the alien films, they love going into vents
Yeah.
and running around in them. So I
Mhm.
feel like they've got like a vent fetish or something. I don't know what's going on, but I like because it makes you feel like the ship in itself is really claustrophobic
Mhm.
feeling because of all the padded walls. It kind of feels like a mental institution
Yeah.
room. But I love when they go into vents because it makes you feel really claustrophobic, and I
Yeah.
like that. It makes it more scary.
Really pulls you in. Have you actually
Yeah.
played Alien Isolation, the game?
Oh fucking hell, that game! That game gave me, I want to say, 4 or 5 cardiac arrests
Yeah,
at
it's
least.
terrifying, isn't it?
Fuck that
Seriously.
game, man.
Normally, if a game is that scary, I'll be like, nope, and then never play it again. But because I love the film so much, and it is genuinely an incredible game, I just
Yeah,
kept putting myself through it, and
yeah, me too.
I couldn't put it down. I think I finished it within a week. So every night I was up playing it for like 2-3 hours a night, and as scary as it was, truly incredible. And doing the bits where like crawling through the vents and whatever, like I was shitting myself, and it's a game. So how they,
Oh,
I know it's a film, whatever, but how they didn't come across as afraid, it's just
yeah.
bizarre to me.
They don't. Maybe it's because I don't know. They're in space, and space is quite scary, and they're on a ship. I guess they could
Mhm.
just blow up at any moment. Maybe
Just
they're
used to it.
less afraid of stuff, yeah, than we
Yeah.
are. Like they just don't care.
Hmm. All right. So as we say, final survivors are Ripley and Jonesy. It takes us to the final scene. She's actually able to eject a like a final pod from the ship almost, because we haven't mentioned, but they initiated a self destruction of the entire ship. So, in the interest of trying to escape, she goes to an escape pod, taking Jonesy, and all seems well. She's ejected, the ship's blown up, she's safe. She's just going to float there in the hopes that someone's going to pick her up. And we get another example of the alien just blending in with its environment so perfectly. And as you mentioned earlier, it's just like she's relaxed, stroking the cat and everything. And once you know it's there, it's awesome to just purposely look for it and see it straight
Yeah,
away and know that you've
yeah.
seen it.
I don't
And
think you can help it when you've seen the
no,
film because
hmm
she's so close to it when she's hitting some of the buttons, and you're
yeah,
like, "It's right
yeah.
there, man! It's literally right next to you." It's so cool.
You've just got like its elongated head, which just looks like as though it's like a pipe for like gas or something, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden you just see it shift, and you know it's not over. You think it's all over, but it's not. But it seems quite dazed for some reason. It takes its sweet time getting her
yeah. It
for some
looks.
reason.
I always thought it was trying to sleep
Yeah.
because you can hear it breathing.
hmm
So I think like it got in there and it thought, I'm going to use this escape pod to go. We don't know what level of intelligence these aliens have, but I
Yeah.
assume it was thinking, I'm going to get in here,
hmm
go off the ship, go wherever I need to go, and get off possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it sort of moves really slowly, and I
Yeah.
love the
Yeah.
way she sort of just like
Yeah.
gets back, moves really slowly into the. Oh, it's so tense. I love it.
It is. It builds attention, doesn't it? And as you say, she.
Also, Sigourney Weaver in those tiny little panties.
Yeah.
Hells yeah,
Hell's yeah, brother.
hells yeah.
It's when I become a man.
One of my first sexual awakenings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll,
definitely.
I'll
Her nips,
Sigourney.
man. I'm like, oh my god, I'd never seen nips like that before when I was that age. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, this is great.
Sexual awakening. So she sneaks back, gets herself into a spacesuit, clips herself in. This is all whilst the alien's just kind of like coming out of its slumber, and yeah, like a fart on the M6, opens the windows, sucks it out, and it does quickly grab her. To be fair, but she's able to just
She
shoots it.
uses
It's
a
like a grab,
harpoon, doesn't she?
yeah, a harpoon
Grapple
gun.
harpoon thing, yeah.
And in fact, it then jumps into the jets, doesn't it? Is that right?
Yeah,
And then she
yeah.
fires the jets, burns it, and then that's it. Finn. That is Alien, 1979. So
What an oh.
we've mentioned my rating. Go ahead and what do you think out of
Well,
10?
I just mentioned one more scene that we missed out on.
Yeah.
I think that the Ash malfunction scene
Yeah, didn't
is
even mention that.
genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, he tries to kill her in the weirdest
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
way ever. Just rolls that magazine up like
Mm-hmm.
really tight. And he just shoves it. He doesn't hold her with the other arm.
No.
He's just holding her with that one arm. And I
Mm.
love that. And then when they hit him over the head and his head just goes boop,
Yeah.
straight off his head. I think that scene is amazing. I think he done really well at portraying
hmm
just a machine just losing it, just like becoming crazy.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant, and one of the best sci-fi performances without a
Oh,
doubt. Like
oh,
his portrayal as a synthetic was probably researched by many actors, for
definitely.
years and years of what to do. I mean,
Hmm.
we've mentioned Michael Fassbender, haven't we? How he was so incredible at his role. He must have watched that film and analysed it and thought, "This is what I need to do for sure."
Definitely, without a doubt. Oh, just quickly as well. Um, I think it has one of the also having so many memorable scenes. It has one of the most memorable taglines from any movie ever, which is of course in space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah,
Which again, I think all the culminations of everything being awesome
hmm
for this movie is
yeah,
just every single person knocked it out of the park.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
everyone, even the people that done the marketing, knocked it out of the park. Like
Yeah, just
wow,
perfection in
yeah,
every aspect. In
yeah.
fact, I was meant to show this when we were talking audio. So I'm going to show Simon something I've never shown another man. So
Oh,
here we go.
hey.
Can you see?
Oh, Oh,
Impressive, isn't it?
amazing.
I'm not going to tell the audience what it is. You've just got to kind of. It's not my penis.
It is. That's amazing as well. I've seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Look how gorgeous that is. See?
Oh, dude, that is gorgeous. Oh, I
Right.
love it.
I'll break it to you now. It is the original pressing of the Alien soundtrack from 1979. It says here. So
Amazing.
and
It's beautiful. It's got the 20th Century Fox label. Oh, it's
proper
a thing of
vintage and
beauty.
everything, man. Yeah.
Oh God, I love it.
And it's one of
'Cause
those.
that's that's like it's like an orchestral score, isn't it? It's like a classic.
Yes.
They didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know you got into the 80s and everyone started doing the like the electronic stuff, but
Hmm.
that one stuck to the sort of 70s orchestra kind of soundtrack, which I think also lends itself quite well to the film.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to see if there's orchestrations by Arthur Morton. I was trying to see if it said which orchestra it actually was, but it doesn't seem to say, to be honest. Just to have that on. I haven't listened to it for years, but when I first had it, I'd just be cooking a Sunday dinner with this on in the background.
The scariest dinner you've ever cooked.
That's it. Oh, here you go. It's the National Philharmonic Orchestra.
Oh wow, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Big boys.
Conducted by Lionel Newman, composed by
Wow.
Jerry Goldsmith. There
Oh
you go.
yeah, well, fantastic.
That's
Yeah,
just
good
one.
score, really nice, very
Yeah,
good.
just one of my many nerdy vinyl. Anyway, the rest will come out at later dates when the opportunity arises, I'm sure. So that was Alien. Yeah, please do tell me, out of 10, what are we saying?
I mean, it's a 9 out of 10. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
9 out of 10 all day, every day. That this film is flawless. You know, there are a couple of shots in it of the effects which you think, okay, fair enough, that's of the time. But for the most part, with such a small budget, it's a fucking great script. H.R. Geiger done all of the concept art. The Alien is one of the greatest designs ever in anything. Acting, it is pretty much a flawless movie. It's a 9 out of 10
Yeah.
all day long for me.
Mm-hmm. Good choice. Good choice. It, as I say, we've said many times, timeless, never to be beaten. And then they tried again. I'd never realised the space between the two films. It's just not
Long
something.
time.
It's just not something we see nowadays. We have
No, true.
a big blockbuster come out, and then because they can make them so quick now, because everything is purely just green screen, they'll have the next one out within 2 years.
I think I did read that Ridley Scott, he at that time he wasn't interested in doing sequels to any of his movies. I know he's
Okay.
done stuff now, but at that point he was a one and done.
Yeah.
So I think the studio really wanted another one because it was a bit of a sleeper hit. I don't think anyone expected it to be as big as it was.
Yeah.
But they did ask him, I believe, to return, but he said no, and that's why it took such. You probably would have got one from him probably in a short amount of time. I remember thinking in interviews him saying at that time I did not want to do another Alien film because it was such a perfect movie, and obviously it took. Yeah, what was it? 7 years?
Well,
years,
it was 7 years. You're right. 1979,
7 years.
Alien, and then Aliens was 1986.
Yeah, and we'll get on to the second one now, but I think that for the style of the second movie, you couldn't have picked a better director to do that version of Aliens. So
for sure, that's it. Right, so Aliens, 1986. It's of course the sequel to Alien. Are there any other sequels that you can think where it was just the original name with an S? Could you do it with another film?
there are probably some you could.
Jawsies.
Jaws is just an apostrophe.
Just an apostrophe at the end. Jawsies.
Oh, that would be that. Oh god, yeah. We should have made the other Jaws films.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Jawsies.
Some of those. Jawses. It's simple though because it like you know what it is.
Yeah.
And it also is perfect because there's not just one alien.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, it's not only a good name, it's true.
Yeah. It just works.
It just works perfectly. Yeah. I don't know what the original titles of it was, but Aliens just works perfectly.
Mm-hmm. I remember I was listening to something the other day, and it said something like the original name for Alien was going to be something like proper old school, like Attack of the Space Creature or something like that,
Ah,
which
okay.
would have been a very different
Yes.
story, wouldn't it? It makes you wonder whether it would have taken a different direction.
Yeah.
Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine if we were
Definitely.
sat here talking about Attack of the Space Creature or whatever the hell I just said?
I mean, there are some great films with terrible names, so
Yeah.
we still might have considered it a classic. But I
Hmm.
think Alien is the perfect description to put it down as. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. Right. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and do the synopsis
Hmm.
for this one as well?
Yeah. So Ellen Ripley is sent back to planet LV-46, backed by a regiment of Marines. They try to establish contact with a terraforming colony, only to find that the alien menace is loose once more.
Ooh. So I mean, it starts off. She's taken back, and instead of being, "Oh my god, are you okay?" It's, "Yo, you've just blown up our multi-million-dollar, um, space vessel. You owe us money."
Yeah.
And
Can I just ask quickly, which version of this did you watch?
only the
Because
best version.
there are a couple of versions
Yeah.
with extra shit, and then ones with stuff
Oh,
cut out.
okay. So I watched the director's cut.
So that has the Newt's family discovering the alien
Correct. Yeah.
and the Ripley daughter stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, then you watched, yeah? Because I was thinking the theatrical version
Hmm.
actually cuts out a hell of a lot. So
I feel
I'm
as though
glad you
the only
watched the
version
older one.
I have watched is the director's cut.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
remember my parents having the VHS of Aliens. And
That's what we had. It was just a theatrical one,
yeah.
and then when DVDs came out, that was the first time that I saw the longer cut.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember my dad's. It was Halloween. I remember it vividly. To be fair, and we are like, "Oh, can we watch a scary film?" I must have been 6, maybe, and my dad was like,
Oh my
"Yeah,
god!
let's watch this film." Came out when you weren't even born. And it was Aliens. Not that I can remember it being 6 years old. I probably ran upstairs or something. To be fair, I used to hide behind the settee when they're watching Planet of the Apes. To be fair, so it didn't take much. It still doesn't take much. So fuck knows why I'm doing a Halloween movie marathon. I'll be honest. But yes, as we've just mentioned, there is the theatrical cut. I'd much recommend watching the director's cut. There's
Yeah,
some real
definitely.
golden scenes in there that God knows why they would have cut them out, because they're just perfection.
I think he said that they felt it was too long, so they needed to
Oh,
cut bits
okay.
out. I mean, you can enjoy the theatrical version; it still
Hmm.
gives you all the points. But I do think the other one, because you see the people that are there,
Yeah,
you sort of understand how many people there were. In the theatrical version, you don't see any of that. You don't see anyone on that space station alive.
yeah.
You just see nothing.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah,
it's yeah, it's I think it's a better version, definitely.
yeah, definitely. It's more enhanced, and it gives you a scope of what's been taken away on this terraforming colony, I
Yeah,
suppose.
exactly.
Yeah. So as you've mentioned, she was actually floating in. I'll cover the director's cut bits as well. So it turns out she was floating in space for 57 years. Um, Lieutenant Ripley, as you say, she had a daughter. Her daughter's obviously grown old and passed. The space trawler that they were on was very expensive, so they're like, "You're either going to pay us back or you're going to prison."
I think they say 42 or 48 million or
Yeah.
something like that. It
Hmm.
was worth saying like one of those two numbers.
Yeah, and something like that, and obviously massive amount of money, and God knows how they think they're gonna get that amount of money off this woman, but anyway, her explanation is obviously the truth. She's saying, if there was an alien, I had to blow it up so it didn't get back to Earth. None of these bigwigs believed her. Thought
Which
she
is
was,
fair enough
yeah,
because it
yeah,
kind of sounds like a crazy person story. Like whenever we watched it the other day, when I was sitting there with Vicky, I was like, they're all dicks, but I
mm,
kind of understand because they're like, there is no proof,
yeah,
there's no evidence,
hmm,
there's nothing showing that all this happened. So
yeah. She could have quite easily just been sweeping up and accidentally pressed a big red button and just managed to escape in time. It's like, oh, trust me, there's an alien. So yeah, I can see where they're coming from as well. Um, So they end up getting not a distress call, but they haven't heard from their. I mean, you correct me here if I am wrong, because I think I may be. They don't hear from this uh, colony for a little while.
Yeah,
So
there's a big gap because you see that scene.
mhm.
I love that some of the lines in that scene where she's like, If they get here," and she grabs the paper. She's like, "You can kiss all this fucking shit
Yeah,
goodbye. Like
hmm,
none of this will matter if these guys get here."
yeah,
And then the next time she goes, "Oh my god, there are people living there," and they say, "Yeah, there's like been people living there for like 20 years." And then
yeah,
the next scene is they lose contact, but
hmm,
then they establish she's been working at another place, so it must be a couple of months,
yeah,
that gap in between Gorman and Burke turning up at her door and her leaving that meeting, but they don't give you any context as to how actual long it's been, but it
yeah.
must be a couple of months
Yeah,
at least.
looks as though she's been working there and she's kind of
Yeah,
settled. But that's the realization that she makes. It's when they say that it's LV-426, which is obviously the planet she knows that they landed on and found the alien ship. So they says, "Oh yeah, we got a colony. Oh, where's the colony? LV-426." And she obviously
yeah,
makes the realization like you should not be on that planet.
yeah,
Um, but because they know that she's been to that planet previously and she's told all these crazy stories. Um, they kind of put two and two together, and they just kind of want to give her the benefit of the doubt. They set up a group of Marines, Space Marines, um, which are now part of the Weyland-Yutani Corp, to go and check it out. But they want her there with her first-hand experience. Originally, she says no, but in the end, she just goes. And what they find is nothing short of eerie, because obviously, as I say, in the director's cut, we're shown this like full of life colony it's got families on it, people working and everything. And when they arrive, it's just an absolute ghost town. But as I say, we'll take this as the point in which we are introduced to some of the greatest characters in sci-fi. Again, each one of them is incredible. The Space
without a
Marines.
shadow of a doubt. Yeah, there are some fantastic. Oh, so Michael Bean returning. He was obviously John Connor in Terminator,
Yeah.
so he felt like he had to. He wasn't the original guy.
No.
There was another guy in that spot.
Hmm.
Everyone thought he was a dick on set. They sacked him and got Michael Bean to play Hicks instead.
As if. No way.
But what I was going to say about Marines is, do you know all the Marine stuff on the ship
Hmm.
at the beginning? They shot that last,
Oh, okay.
so it
Yeah.
felt like everyone really knew everyone because everyone had been filming together and training together for months.
Yeah.
They shot those scenes last, so you would really get a view that these people actually know each other and are actually friends, and you do feel that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Also, all of their armor, they decorated themselves, all the actors.
Oh,
They
nice.
trained with it on.
Yeah.
All the stuff that says like they've got writing on their things, they've got little like cards,
Hmm.
little broken hearts. All of the actors got to put all of their sort of Vietnam war paint
Yeah.
on all of their own stuff to make it seem
Their
even
own.
more real and their own, which is just
Yeah.
such an amazing little touch
Hmm.
and makes it feel like, again, like we said in the first one, you feel like these are real people.
Yeah.
Probably apart from Hudson, who's just like a caricature of a crazy person,
Yeah.
but everyone else genuinely feels like a real person. I was going to say as well, did you play Halo?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Sergeant Apon must have been the inspiration for
Yeah.
Sergeant Johnson in Halo because as soon as I started playing Halo, I
Hmm.
automatically thought of this film.
Yeah. No, you're spot on there. That's just in saying that it's clicked and 100% looks exactly the same. Smokes a
Yeah,
big fat cigar. Sounds exactly the same.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I always thought that when I played Halo.
Hmm.
I thought, oh god, this is just someone watched Aliens and thought that's what we want as our sergeant.
Yeah.
100%.
Look into my eye.
I was going to say, sorry, before we jump to them getting off the ship, when it sets up when Ripley gets in the big loader, one of my favorite lines ever is she's like, "Oh, can I help out?" And then they're like, "Yeah, sure. What do you want to do?" She's like, "Well, I can drive that loader."
Mm.
And then he sort of looks at Hicks and he goes, "Okay, go on then." She gets in it,
Me-
picks up the big thing and says, "Where do you want this?"
Yeah.
And then Apone goes, "Ha ha ha ha. Day 12, please."
Yeah.
I just love that line delivery because he's just cracking up
Yeah.
at how she just gets in it and goes, "Yeah, where do you want it?"
Hmm.
It's just absolutely, and it sets up Ripley for just being one of the most badass characters
Yeah.
of all time.
Mhm.
Like, unbelievable. I just love that line. Like, when you watch the film next time, just you'll crack up at that
Yeah.
line, man. I promise.
It's the delivery. He's like, B12, please.
It's just amazing.
Spot on. Yeah, and she shows off. She's got a forklift license, so she's obviously a badass as it is.
Yeah.
Everything about it is awesome. Space Marines, not Space Marines. Colonial Marines, is that what we're calling them?
Yeah. Oh, also, you just mentioned that. Did you play Colonial Marines on Xbox 360?
Yeah, and it was fairly dreadful, if I remember right.
I still enjoyed it,
Yeah.
even though it's quite terrible. But because you get to go back to some of the places, the mechanic, the game was fucked. It was shit.
Yeah.
But I just like that aesthetic so much. I still enjoyed the game, even though it was janky as hell.
No, I think the best game out there for Alien was probably, short of Isolation, you had the arcade games that you'd see in, like, I don't know, Bowlplex or something, which was always really good. And I always really enjoyed the top-down Alien versus Predator as well. I don't know if you played that.
Yeah, great.
That was a great game as well.
Great. Yeah,
So,
love the Alien vs Predator ones. Yeah, on the shoot 'em up on the Sega Saturn as well. That was decent. Yeah, they were good games actually. They weren't bad.
we just need a, well, I'm sure we will get another Alien Isolation, and I'm sure I'll shit myself also. So I've just got written here, we see the colony interiors as they've already landed, but everything looks so industrial. Like even the first scene in the director's cut where we see the kids going around on the little trike, everything's just industrial, which it would have been nice to see some living quarters. Maybe something we'll see in a future film, maybe. But there's obviously families living there, so it'd be nice to see some, I don't know, like mess halls or rooms or whatever. Like, I'm thinking like something like you'd see in Fallout, in a Fallout vault.
Yeah,
That'd be cool
that's
to
true.
see.
Actually, you see the offices, you see the sort of the workstation where they capture them, but you don't see the living quarters. But maybe that was just a money saving tactic.
Probably
because
just reuse that one corridor that they've made. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to build more sets. They were like, keep using the same corridors over and over again. Just redress.
It's just like Scooby-Doo, just like passing the same things.
It's like every 80s Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
They're running down the same corridor, just the other way, and it's shot slightly differently. But it's the same fucking corridor the whole time.
So they're there. They obviously know that they've got to find some form of life. So they use, again, one of the most iconic things in sci-fi. It's the motion tracker.
Oh,
with the odd, you know.
It's such a great way to build tension in that film.
Yeah.
Because the noise and the way you see it and the way you see things moving in it, it really is a really clever tool for building tension. It's a great idea. Really, really good.
I mean, the first thing it picks up is a hamster somehow. I don't know what this technology is. What's it meant to be picking up? Heartbeats? I don't know. But they find a hamster. A hamster's survived for the 10 months
Again, this
that it's
might
been empty or whatever.
This might confirm our theory that the alien doesn't kill animals.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it didn't kill the cat. It doesn't kill the hamsters, even though it probably could. You can see them moving around, but they're just like,
Small fry.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, first time it finds a hamster, but second time they actually find Newt, which, if you watch the director's cut, which everyone should, you'll recognise her as the daughter of the parents at the very start that got face hugged, the first face huggers of the colony. The Marines attempt to search the personnel database to see if there's anyone else living within the colony. And upon seeing signs of life, we treated to a quality quote from Paxton, which is, "Stop your grinning and drop your linen."
There are so many good lines in this film, aren't there? Like I think the script, all the script writers in this film are really great at writing. Just the funny thing is though, the funny lines, they feel natural. They don't take you out of the movie, as in like you think it's turning into a comedy.
Yeah,
it sounds like something that a really cocky Marine would say.
Yeah.
Like rather than, you could just imagine an American soldier in Afghanistan saying that, or Vietnam.
Yeah.
Just as much as you could in space. So they're quite clever lines, actually.
And I think Paxton's just perfect for it. Like he plays that role like incredibly. There's nobody else I can imagine doing it at all.
No, he starts off quite annoying,
Hmm.
and then you kind of grow to like him,
Yeah,
and then obviously the film strips that away from you later on. But like, I like the way that they start off, and you're like, this guy's quite annoying actually, but then he becomes someone that you're like, oh, I really don't want Hudson to
yeah.
die. I really want Hudson to survive this. Like, I don't want him to go because he's really cool.
Hmm. That's it. I mean, on about quotes, not long after we treated with a Hicks quote, which is, "I like to keep this for close encounters," whilst cocking the shotgun, and
Badass.
yeah, so sick. And guys who played Call of Duty 4 might recognise this as the first line one of the first lines you hear from Captain Price in Call of Duty 4. I don't know if you
Oh my
remember that,
god.
but
I don't remember, but yeah, I've played it, but I don't remember that.
yeah,
That's awesome.
is the
What a great reference.
yeah, like they obviously took the inspiration and whatever on about Halo taking inspiration. Everyone's doing it. So in the first mission of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you're on a ship, it's raining, and go into like an interior area and cuts over to Captain Price and repeats that line, um, which is awesome. I love it. I really do.
Fucking awesome. I think that that's one of the scary bits of the film as well, is when they're like, right, you're right by the cooling towers.
Hmm.
You can't fire your
Yeah.
weapons. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, grab the magazines from everyone, put
Hmm.
them in this bag because you can't fire.
Yeah.
And I love that Vasquez and Drake just have extra.
Yeah.
They're just like, fuck that. No fucking
Yeah.
way are we doing. And I love that because that is exactly how there is no fucking way I would not have extra ammunition on me in that
In that
situation.
situation, exactly that. Yeah. So
It's very relatable.
mhm. So obviously, life forms showing up that we just mentioned on the tracker. Um, the amount that they see in one area, like the amount of life forms they see on the tracker in one area, um, you wouldn't expect it to be good news. So it turns out that they're actually strolling into the aliens' nest. They end up finding dozens of humans stuck to the walls, and they're actually being used to incubate the next generation of aliens. Um, Ripley's aware of this, and then she obviously explains it to them. Um, and yeah, shit just starts to hit the fan. I think I remember. Is it someone on the wall wakes up and then gives it the old "kill me, kill me"?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they use the flame. That I said that to
that's
Vicky when we
it.
watched it the other day. It goes from 0
Hmm.
to 100 within about 10 seconds. As soon as those aliens start coming,
Yeah.
like you said, shit just hits the fan
Hmm.
big time.
That's it. Set the woman on fire on the wall, and that obviously attracts. Where you get like that eerie silence, and I think you start to hear them, start to see them in the shadows and everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's fucking scary.
and yeah, it just kicks off like so bad.
You think one was bad,
Hmm.
and then obviously when you're watching the film and you see there's loads,
Yeah,
you think if one done this to all those people,
yeah,
how the hell are these guys going to survive this?
hmm,
Because there's no way.
yeah. We get the classic movie trope as well, where you got like the desk with everyone's heartbeats and everything on, and it's like they're coming out of the walls, beep, like just one by one being like picked off. I love it, I really do. And
Again, that was another good thing that I thought was quite innovative. The way they had, because soldiers now have cameras.
yeah, hmm,
And at that point, that wasn't something that the army was doing, but they made the soldiers have cameras. So if you were back in the fallback position, you could see what was happening. And
yeah,
that is actually amazing how they predicted that, because now soldiers have body cams, head cams,
hmm,
all sorts of shit. So that bit is, they say science fiction predicts the future, but in that case, they really did,
yeah,
because it's actually true to life now. But back then, they never would have expected soldiers to be wearing cameras,
yeah,
which is unreal.
hmm, definitely. I mean, in mentioning that as well, I think it was Covenant I was watching, and they have exactly the same. They have like an arm with a camera on the back, and normally with the Alien films, they don't include anything real. Essentially, like they have everything their own design. But it was literally like I think it was a GoPro Hero 4 or something
Was
like
it?
that.
I don't remember that.
So it's like really futuristic movie, but they got this dog shit GoPro 4 on the back, and I spotted it,
I'm
and
gonna have to look out for that next time.
yeah, that's it. Are we cracking another
They've
beer?
got this. Yeah, they've got the same camera that someone would use in the pit at download, just
Yeah.
randomly on their shoulder.
So for this occasion, I treated myself to some beers from Aldi, and I thought I'll get
Oh, I went to Lidl, so
yeah.
this will be a nice comparison.
Well, I thought I'll go for the worst, best Aldi copies. So everyone's probably heard of this one. We've got Anti-Establishment IPA, which is obviously
Brewdog,
Brewdog's
yeah,
Punk IPA. And then
nice.
staying in the theme, we've got Anti-Establishment. Instead of Lost Lager, I've got Found Lager.
How do these companies get away with
God
this?
knows, but they
How
do.
do they get away with this? Honestly, I bought this. I got a session IPA, and it's a steam brew,
Steam Brew.
which is just a nice little. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it is. Just a session IPA, but I've had them. I took them to download. They were quite nice,
Yeah.
and they were like £1.19.
Oh, you can't
Can't argue with these prices, can you?
Not at all. No way. There we go. So we're fueled. We shall continue. So they had a ship coming to get them. It's a ship that dropped them off initially. It was like, no, let's get away. There's nothing here for us. Let's, shoot off quick. The ship coming to get them bites the dust. And the only hope of survival is setting up camp inside. And with this comes one of the best, if not the best, director's cut scenes of all time. We've hinted at it. Why this was removed from the theatrical release, I have no idea. But it's the scene with the automated sentry guns.
Oh, amazing.
So good. So what they do, they lock themselves, seal themselves in it's like the medical quarters of the colony. And they have these sentry guns where they set them up outside the doors and the pan side to side. Any form of movement pins to that and fires. And it's such a good scene where they've got like a pad showing the amount of rounds left in each gun, and they don't last long in the slightest.
No.
Like, it's a real, it builds tension that the way that they do it. Like one by one, you see the rounds counting down, and I've written here Paxton ends up biting the dust at this point. Not that I can remember. In fact,
that's slightly after
is it?
that bit, but I like the way that because that makes you think. Like all of these have like 100 rounds or whatever.
Mhm.
You think how many fucking xenomorphs are out there?
Yeah.
Because these guns are insane guns. They're fine. Like they look like 50 caliber guns.
Yeah.
They're huge,
Mhm.
and they just keep going down, and the aliens just keep on coming.
Yeah.
Like there's so many of them, and that's what's really, really scary about that bit. I think
Yeah.
it builds tension amazingly. Also, just going back to the scene before, but when all this shit hits the fan and they go, Gorman, the head of the Marines, just completely freaks out.
Oh, he folds, doesn't he? Yeah.
He just folds completely, and kind of like in the first one when Ripley takes over from Dallas.
Yeah.
Ripley
Yeah.
says, "Fuck you, mate. I'm taking control of this situation,"
Mhm.
and drives in to get him. And again, it gives you that feeling that Ripley just really is there's no fucking around here. I'm going to get these guys out of here.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, let's go. I love that about her character.
Mhm. That's right. And I believe Hudson even turns to her and says, "Right, what are we doing?" Like even the guy that's like next in charge is like, "Okay, I'm in charge. What are we doing?"
So good.
Mhm. I mean, we missed another quote. The classic "Game over, man, game over." That was outside when the ships just like crashed in front of them. That was Paxton.
Also, the sexual tension between Ripley and Hicks.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's when he's showing her the gun.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's like, "I can handle myself," and he goes, "Oh, I know you can."
Mhm.
I'm not mansplaining this to you. I'm showing you this gun because I know you can use this gun and you will be totally fine.
Yeah.
And I love that he's like that. He's like, "Yeah, just you load it there," and he goes to her. What is it? He's like, "Oh, here's the thing. This is how you fire." And he goes, "On the bottom, that's the rocket launch, the grenade launcher. You don't want to know about that." And she's like, "I want to know everything." And he's like, "Okay, that's the grenade
Okay.
launcher." She's like, "No. Show me everything about this weapon because I can handle it. Don't worry."
Yeah, it is good, and he is an excellent actor for it. Just fits it perfectly. So
we've also skipped the whole Burke trying to get Newt and her impregnated.
We have. You're right. So as you say, yeah, they're in the medical quarters, and Burke, who is like he's the man for Wayland Utani. It turns out he had a plan all along to get a alien life form back to Wayland Utani, um, and in a roundabout way, his plan was to get a face hugger to go and impregnate either Newt or Ripley by locking them in a room with the face hugger. Um, Obviously, being experienced as she is with the alien, she was able to stop it from doing just that. Am I right in thinking the pin it to the wall by its tail and then just blast it with a rifle?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Hudson. Yeah, he pins it on the table and just shoots it.
Hmm.
But again, it just shows how clever Ripley is and how well she's thinking at her feet because they're trapped in the room.
Yeah.
She can't break the
Yeah.
glass. She's thinking, how can I alert the people out of the room because Burke has switched off the camera,
Hmm.
and she's so quick thinking. She goes, "Well, there's a water suppression system in here."
Yeah.
So she pulls out a lighter, lights it because she knows that will make an alarm go off.
Hmm.
And you're just thinking, fucking hell, Ripley is just like this shit that you would never think
Yeah.
of. Ripley is
Just
just
really
she
resourceful.
just so resourceful.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. They kill the face hugger, and it's just all fingers pointed at Burke, as you say. What the hell are you doing? Um, that was prior. Was that prior to the automated?
That's just I think it's around the same. No, because then they hear the century. They're about to kill Burke because
Hmm.
I remember Hudson's going, just
Yeah.
waste him,
Hmm.
just waste him. Why not? You know what I mean? And then they're all discussing it, and then Hicks goes, do you know what? I'm going to waste him.
Yeah.
Then they go to pull him out, and then that's when everything sort of happens with the guns, and then the lights go out, and then we're on to where
That's
you
it.
said before. Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah,
This is the thing. There's so much that happens in this film so
yeah,
quickly.
it is. Yeah.
It just goes from 1 to 100 so
Hmm.
quickly, doesn't it? The
My
middle part of
fingers
this
weren't
film.
obviously my thumbs weren't quick enough to be writing
That's
the
what
notes.
I mean. Yeah, so much.
So yeah, at this point, Burke's public enemy number one. The lights drop, and in the time that they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, Burke managed to slide away, doesn't he? Gets through in a corridor and locks a door behind him, leaving everyone else behind. And this is where they're using the motion tracker, and it's like they're in the room. They can't be in the room. They're not in the room. And then he steps up on the table and looks above the ceiling tiles, and there's just dozens and dozens of aliens that have managed to find the way up and over.
I always think about this when I was watching it with Vicky the other day. I'm like, you forgot the ceiling.
Yeah.
You forgot the. They're doing all the doors,
Yeah.
and I'm always in my head shouting at the screen, going, "You forgot the ceiling."
Yeah. In a universe that's so like switched on about air ducts and whatever. Oh, we forgot the air ducts. Well, like it's just like some bog standard suspended ceiling, and it's got 100 aliens
Yeah,
just balancing on top of it.
it's like an office ceiling
Yeah.
where you could just push it up and look in.
So yeah, it just goes mental at this point. They're all inside the room. Pulse rifles are going off like mad, and yeah, they're trying to escape. Burke's already locked the door, but they've got the it's like a thermal. It's almost like a
Like a lance, yeah, it's like a thermal.
that's it. So the frenzied escape. Vasquez cuts it open. Everyone's trying to get away. It's just mental. I think they end up going into a vent at this point, don't they?
They do, yeah. Hudson gets dragged through the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the bit I hate because he's like shooting them, and he's like, "Yeah, come on!"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yes, Hudson's killing them all." And then Hicks is like, "Hudson, get the hell out the room!"
Mm-hmm.
And just before he can move,
Yeah.
pull through the floor. It's so sad. I hate that bit.
Mm-hmm. It is. We grew to love him at that stage, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Definitely. I mean, if there's any points in which I've forgotten something, do shout, because there's bits that are coming back to me at this point as well.
Yeah, it always happens.
I've got written here:
Yeah.
frenzied escape ensues with Vasquez and Gorman taking the hero's way out, blowing themselves up to take out as many Xenos as possible. So this is when they're up in the vents, as we say.
It's the bravest thing. Oh, hold on. Vicky's messaged me. Oh, it's the bravest thing that Gorman does because Gorman is quite a pussy, and obviously he gets knocked out. He's out for quite a lot of it, to be fair. But when they're in the vents
Mhm.
and Vasquez gets injured, he actually goes back to try and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
her, which is actually quite heroic because he could have just went, but he looks at it and he thinks, you know what, I've been a coward this whole time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be. I'm gonna go and get her and rescue her.
Mhm.
And obviously that's his downfall. But it is quite nice
It's his
that
redeeming
he
moment. Yeah.
tries. Yeah, he tries to save her, which is which redeems Gorman
Yeah.
again. Yeah, because he's not a bad person. He's just not fit for doing what he's
Mhm.
doing.
Not experienced, is he? That was his only second real drop, wasn't it? Everything else he said
Oh
was
yeah.
simulations. He's like, I've done it 30 times, but the simulations, this is only my second real drop.
Mm,
So he
mm.
was just a noob at the end of the day. But that, yeah,
Yeah, shouldn't have said. Why did they send? In hindsight, why on earth did they send this
yeah,
guy?
that's right. And he's calling the shots and everything. Obviously, not the right dude to do it. Not at
Well,
all. So yeah, they take the hero's way out. They use like a thermal detonator thing, end up blowing up as many as they can to try and slow them down in getting to the rest of the survivors. At this stage, it's just Newt, Ripley, and Hudson. They're the remainders now, isn't it? Everyone else is. Um,
I think Burke's death is great because he tries to, like all the rest of it, he tries to slime his way
yeah,
out of
yeah.
it, backs into a cupboard, opens the door, and then you see that alien
Hmm.
mouth open and just, and you're like, yes, got him. He's the only person in the film where you're like,
Yeah,
yes, he died. Everyone else you're sad about, but him, you're like, yeah, fuck you, man.
fuck that guy.
Damn right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gets done with a little mouth. We love to see it.
Oh, hold on. Do you know who we haven't mentioned this entire time? We haven't mentioned Bishop at all.
We actually haven't. We haven't even mentioned like the incredible knife scene. Did I just not
How
write
have we
this
gone
down?
this whole time without? We were talking about
Yeah,
synthetics, and we haven't mentioned Bishop, who is a massive part of this
yeah.
film, and yet we've breezed past
Completely
him.
skimmed over him. Yeah, basically they have a synthetic with them for the entire film. How we forgot him, we don't know. In fact, he's in the start section. He ends up staying in the control tower to kind of like send signals out for a rescue. And then at the very end, it's doesn't he? I may be mixing this up with another film entirely. Doesn't he like automate a ship to come and get them?
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the main thing with Bishop though is obviously in the beginning, Ripley, because she had such a bad experience with
yeah,
Ash,
yeah,
the last synthetic,
hmm
she really doesn't trust Bishop.
yeah,
And in the beginning scene with all the Marines, she's quite dismissive of him. She basically tells him to fuck off, don't come near her, because she knows what Ash done.
yeah.
And he says, oh yeah, the 492s were really
hmm
twitchy. That would never happen with me. I could never harm a person. And the film does a twist where you kind of think that he's going to betray her, but it actually turns out that Burke is the
Yeah.
asshole. And Bishop, she actually forms a really good relationship with Bishop where she begins to sort of trust synthetics again.
hmm
And I like that twist on the first one. They went, as soon as you watch it, you think synthetics going to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
mental and kill
hmm
everyone, like 100%. But actually, it's the complete opposite where Bishop is really good, works for the whole
Yeah.
team. Ripley actually grows to really like him. I like that element of the
hmm
film a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And just an excellent character through and through. As
Yes.
we mentioned, the scene at the start with Paxton when he's doing the knife thing. Apparently, that was all completely just made up on the spot. Apparently,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I never knew that either when I was reading up about it. Apparently, he did really do it, didn't he? The sped up bit obviously is sped
yeah.
up, but he really had it with a real knife. And I think on one of the takes he catches Bill Paxton with
Oh,
it, and
okay.
then they had to change hands
Yeah.
because he had a plaster on one of his
Uh,
hands. So I don't know how true that is,
yeah.
but that's sort of lore that I've heard before. But that was a real party trick, and he was going to do it by himself. And then they decided to him put his
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
over thing, and it's really cool, isn't
It
it?
is good.
Like, how many people in school with your pen
Did that
done that?
probably because of that scene. Even if we hadn't seen that film, it'd
Definitely.
been passed down through the generations. Yeah.
Yeah, I done it in school all the time, and it always fucking hurt
Yeah.
myself.
With a compass in maths. Yeah.
Oh,
So after that, yeah, as I've said, it's literally just Newt, Ripley, and Hudson. Not Hudson, sorry, Hicks. Um, they're the only survivors, but Newt ends up doesn't she like fall down a chute or something?
Yeah, there's it's like a giant wheel thing they've sort of got to climb over through the
That's
ducts,
it.
maybe like an air vent
Hmm.
system, and she falls through. There's actually a really cool little thing about
Yeah.
that. Apparently, well, God, what's the name of the actress who plays Newt? I can't remember her name. She kept on fluffing her lines on
Oh,
purpose
right.
so she could go down the slide over
Yeah.
and over again. And James Cameron said, if you get this take on break, you can go down the slide as many times as you
Yeah.
like. And then apparently she done the take. But there's a big thing with her in interviews, and she said, I tried to mess up that scene as many times as possible because I loved going down
Yeah.
the slide. So James Cameron was like, you can go down the
I can
slide as
see
many
what you're
times as you
doing.
want.
Yeah. Let's cut the crap.
Just get it right.
Yeah.
I think that's like it's such a little kid thing. You just want
Yeah.
to go down the slide.
Hmm.
Like amazing.
That's it. Surrounded by aliens. I just want to have fun. Yeah. So she ends up getting separated, as you say. She sort of goes down this air vent the wrong way or whatever, and they try and save her. She's underneath them essentially in like a waterway, and she ends up getting nabbed and taken away.
I love the way
Hmm.
the alien comes out of the water behind her. That's such an iconic scene for me with all of the sort of sparks behind
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and the way that the alien sort of just comes up, and then she looks down, and you just see the doll. That's
That's
it.
it. Yeah. The doll's head floating there.
Amazing.
Yeah. Ripley doesn't.
Casey.
Casey.
That's
Yeah.
the name of the doll.
Hmm.
Casey.
Ripley doesn't want to believe that she's um, actually being killed. She knows that they get taken back to the nest to become the next host. So she knows she needs to go back to the nest, which she kind of makes the realization. She says, "Right, we've seen these eggs. Who's laying the eggs?" I'm not sure who makes that revelation, but
I think it was. I think it's
is it?
Hudson who says that. I think he says maybe there's something we haven't seen yet,
Hmm.
and then Bishop's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and then Ripley just is like, oh shit, okay,
Hmm.
maybe there's something laying these
Yeah.
eggs. Like, yeah, so yeah, you're right. They set that up.
Yeah. So they go off and try and find the xenomorph queen. So yeah, cue the Xeno Queen. Big, big ass motherfucker. No match for Sigourney. It's like this weird. It's got this like weird sack thing attached to it where it's like just
It's horrible.
squeezing eggs out one after another. And these are the eggs.
One of the best practical effects ever. Like that
Mhm.
thing on the special features, you can see them testing it with black bags over
Yeah.
it in the sun outside before they got it all
Mm.
on. And that thing, that animatronic is
Yeah.
huge, absolutely massive, and I love the breathing as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's just so
It,
scary. It's
it
fucking
all
amazing.
works. It's also scary because it's all just so organic, isn't it? It all looks as
Yeah,
though it's a living, breathing thing, which is why it works.
and till you realize it was really sexual, that all of the aliens and the queen, they laced in KY
Yeah.
jelly to have them have the shiny effect.
They just lubed these bad boys up. They're always dripping as well. There's always something. There's just I don't know if he's got a
Yeah.
bit of a fetish going on or what, but yeah,
Oh yeah, maybe he likes aliens sliding
yeah.
into him. Well, James Cameron's films all come from dreams, don't they?
Yeah.
He dreamt about Terminator, which is why he made that. He dreamt about Avatar, which is why he made
Yeah.
that. So maybe he was dreaming about things going inside him. I don't know. And then he thought, I want to do an Alien sequel.
I want something that wraps around my face and impregnates me through my mouth. And then later on, I want to do something where aliens have sex with the ponytails, and they can plug these same ponytails into horses whilst they ride them. And he's a horny guy. It turns out
He's a horny
Yeah.
guy, yeah. I'd love to meet James Cameron and just say, you're just a real horny
You're just
guy.
a horn dog, ain't you,
James?"
mate? Do you listen to Nickelback by any chance? So yeah, we got this big old queen squeezing eggs out, and this is kind of like where we get the idea of how what's the word? How clever they actually are, because Ripley does a thing where she fires a flamethrower in the air to be like, look what I've got, and then she aims it at one of the eggs, and the queen's just can't. That looks at the like the other aliens that are kind of surrounding her, about to kill her, and she kind of gives them the nod, like clear off, let her do what she's got to do. She's about to burn all of my eggs.
Yeah.
So at this point,
Yeah, it's kind of weird because they never give you an indication as to how aliens
mhm,
communicate. And I like that bit because it's very
yeah,
animalistic, like you said before. And she sort of just looks at them and then they're kind of like, okay,
backing off.
she wants us to back off, which is gives us just that little bit more
Mhm,
of the aliens, which is really, really
yeah,
cool.
no, I like that. Um, and then from this, I think they're about to make their escape, and Ripley's just like, "Fuck this," and just burns all of them. Once she's already got Newt under her arm, burns everything in sight, and then they just run. And this is like part of the. It's very much the same as the first Alien, isn't it? You think it's the end, you think it's the big escape, the safe, but then something else happens. So this is the first big escape. They make their way to the escape pod. I can't remember what happens at this bit as much. So you'll have to fill in a few bits. Um,
They so she goes to shoot the alien
mhm.
nest, and the Queen's like, don't do it. She's just standing there, it's sort of a stalemate. And then Ripley just goes, you can see them start opening. She's
Yeah, yeah.
thinking that facehuggers are coming for me. So she goes, do you know what? Fuck it. Torches all of
Mhm.
them, shoots loads of grenades in, and that sort of
Yes,
bursts the
yeah, yeah,
sack. And then there's a horrible bit when the alien queen rips off of the
yeah,
sack, and that bit is really horrible. I think there's a lot of motherly
yeah,
overtones with this film because Ripley wouldn't go back for Marine if they got trapped,
yeah.
but she goes back for
Mhm.
Newt. And the only reason that the alien queen attacks her is because Ripley attacked her
Yeah,
children. So I feel like there's a lot of yeah, sort of motherly defensive overtones in that bit. It's quite
yeah.
subtle, but I think that's really cool that she attacked her children. That's why she's chasing her, even though she told all the other aliens to leave her
Mhm.
alone. So yeah, I kind of like that bit. But one of the funniest bits is, and this is the only stupid bit of this movie. So her and Newt get in the get in the lift, and then the alien queen gets in the
Oh,
lift as well and goes up. And I
yeah.
always think to myself, they are quite
Mhm.
clever, but the thought of the alien queen just in this
Yeah.
lift like this
Just like
and getting
waiting
out,
at the
that
bottom,
bit.
pressing the button like beep 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 beep. Door is closing.
That bit's so
Yeah,
stupid, but they shouldn't have showed you how the alien got up there.
yeah,
They shouldn't have shown it coming out of the lift. That's the only silly
yeah.
moment in
Do you
this
think?
film. It's kind of like the first one with the hug. It's another
Yeah.
stupid
Do you
moment,
think like
but
do you know when you're in
yeah.
there it says like maximum 15 people? Do you reckon there's like maximum 15 people or one xenomorph queen? Like maximum load.
If I was to design a building, I would
You'd
put
put that
that
in.
in the
Yeah.
lift.
We always used to look at those when I was at uni, me and my two pals, and it'd say maximum 15 people. And they'd always look around and be like, there's no way you'd get 15 stews in here. And I must agree, you could probably get 4 in tops.
These have got to be really tiny people to get 15
Yeah,
people in
yeah,
this lift.
that's it. So they make the first escape. They get to the escape pod, and the far off. I think that's it. I think the home safe and sound. They get to the
Well, another thing to do with Bishop again.
mm,
They get to the
hmm
platform and the ship isn't there. She thinks Bishop's left her again, and then Bishop
yes,
flies in
yes,
to get her at the last moment, and she's like, "For God's sake, Bishop, he's left
hmm
me." But actually, he had to get off the platform because everything was
yeah.
exploding. I like
hmm
that.
Is this the final scene? Is it? Am I right in thinking?
That's the final scene from that bit. Then they go up to the ship,
Yeah,
so they dock with the main
yeah,
ship, and then this is the again like the first
yeah,
one.
yeah.
You think it's
hmm
over, but it's not
Yeah.
over.
So they take the escape pod. They get back. Everyone's breathing a sigh of relief. It's coming back to me now. You're right. They're all on this like docking platform, um, arms around each other and everything. Let's get inside. And all of a sudden, Bishop is struck by the Queen's tail. It just completely impales him and lifts him off the ground. Such an incredible
It
scene.
literally just rips him in half,
Yeah,
man. Whoa!
completely rips him in half, like milk going everywhere.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
horrible, isn't it?
and there's obviously the realization that same things happened as last time. The alien has tucked itself away, and it snuck up here to finish us off. And again, I mean, it is all very reminiscent of the first one, isn't it? She has the same idea,
Yeah.
I think, and she goes and what is it now? So
She gets in the loader
that's it, yeah,
first to fight it, which has one of the best lines of all
yeah,
time, which is "Get away from her, you
yeah.
bitch!" Unbelievable
A
line.
timeless classic, yeah, for sure. And she shows off her forklift license once more, and it's funny because it's so slow how she's like, Ugh, when in
Yeah,
reality we've just seen how quick all these aliens could move. It could easily just like impale her with ease, but she manages to fight it off in this lifter. She fired. In fact, she's got a little keypad on the lifter, hasn't she? Where she opens some kind of hatch which opens up to space, and once again sucks the alien out like a net fart on the M6, as I said earlier. And yeah, little tussle at the bottom, gets fired out, and that's the end of that. That's the end of that alien. And much like the first one, they're getting the pods once more with the hopes that we'll sleep and we'll wake up in a safer place. And that is the end of that. That is Aliens. And what a film
oh,
it is.
what? Yeah. So, like, even though we've spoke about that in length, we've probably missed a million parts because a lot. Like the first one is a standard, not standard, but it's a straight up sci-fi horror.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sci-fi
Yeah,
action
yeah.
with some horror elements. It's not really as much of a horror as the first one,
No.
but it is a very good action sci-fi movie. So I like the way that they're both so
Mm-hmm.
different, but they're both perfection because they're completely
Yeah.
different.
This one came out in the same kind of era as that was the thing to do, wasn't it? All guns blazing, big movie, big blockbuster. So it fits
Yeah.
in perfectly with the time that it was released, and I'm glad that they did it because it's so different whilst being so similar in the best kind of
Yeah.
way, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I can't fault it. I think between the two, if we are doing comparisons, I prefer Alien to Aliens. It's I just prefer it. It's more of a horror, isn't it? The first one, and I prefer that personally. What about yourself? What do you think?
It's see, I consider them both to be 9 out of 10s, but because they're so different, if it was a straight up version of the first one, it probably wouldn't have been as
Yeah.
good. But because it's completely different, it's another 9 out of 10. Just that's an action
Hmm.
film, that's a science fiction horror film.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're both comparable. Like some people love Alien, some people love
Yeah.
Aliens. I think this is a bar Terminator 2. I think this is the greatest sequel ever
Yeah.
made.
Hmm.
Bar this and Blade, the last Blade Runner. It's very difficult to do a sequel to a film that's a classic and actually make it fucking great.
Another
And
classic.
somehow,
Yeah.
yeah, and somehow they made it into another film which is parodied and people still talk about to this day.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just an incredible film. I do have a couple of facts about how insanely hard this film was to shoot
Okay. Yeah.
because they shot it in England
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
and James Cameron, being American, had an entirely British crew who a lot of them worked on the first film with Ridley
Yeah.
Scott. They really didn't like James Cameron as a
Yeah.
person. Apparently, he was annoyed of the constant tea breaks. So I think in the film guild in Britain, you were allowed a certain amount of tea breaks throughout the day. And in America, that wasn't done. You would shoot
Yeah.
until you were
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
But in Britain, typically us, you'd break for
Yeah.
tea and that would waste hours of time. And James Cameron had such a bad rap with the film crew. They thought he was a shit director. He didn't know what he was doing. He screened the Terminator film for the crew to show them how much of a good director he
Yeah.
was, so they would believe in him and actually get on board. But apparently, it was just for him a great
Hmm.
film, but horrendous to shoot the whole
No way.
movie because of the crew was so. They wanted to light it
Hmm.
traditionally, like a 1970s
Yeah.
film, where he wanted it to be really dark lighting in certain ways. So apparently, it was just they batted heads on almost
Yeah.
everything. So loads of people were fired, loads of people came back, they fell out, went for tea breaks. So apparently, this movie was an absolute bastard to shoot.
Wow. It just differences between how two countries do it, I suppose.
Yeah,
Interesting to hear though how American this film is. Obviously, we're like the Americanisms of the Marines and everything. To hear it shot in
yeah.
England's quite bizarre, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both were. So these two classic
Hmm.
films, Americanized
Hmm.
films, but both one had a British director with British crew, another one had an American director with a British crew again.
Yeah.
So they are quite steeped in British culture because they're they came from
Hmm.
us. But yeah, I love James Cameron. I think
Yeah.
he's fantastic. So yeah, this was an unreal film.
Yeah.
Love it.
Incredible. Truly. Um, the later films can't comment too much. They're not incredible. Um, Resurrection's just like a straight up comedy, really. Um, but
It has its
yeah,
moments. Even though I think Alien 3 fucks up instantly because it instantly kills off the
yeah.
characters a lot. That's why I don't like Covenant. That was a really tough film to shoot, and they didn't do everything they were supposed to do. They didn't go full whack with
Hmm.
it. So Alien 3 is okay. Alien Resurrection is okay. Again, it has some good moments in it,
Yeah.
but they never got to the heights of. And I haven't seen Romulus, but they never got near the heights of these. I think the most interesting thing that never happened was the Neil Blomkamp who directed District
Yeah, yeah.
Nine. He was supposed to do a sequel to Alien
Oh,
2
okay.
with Hicks and Ripley. And there's loads of concept art out there that they did for the
Yeah.
movie. And because District 9 was so incredible, everyone was like, oh my God, this is the perfect guy to do a new Alien film. But unfortunately, it
Never,
never got there, never
as
surfaced.
if
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And yeah, you're right. He would be the correct man to do it.
If you go online and look at the concept
Mm.
art, you will be so disappointed that that movie never
Yeah,
happened.
I'll check that out for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Alien, and now we are on to the second part of the episode. If you're still with us, if you haven't fallen asleep, um, if
What are you talking about? These people are buzzed, mate. They can't wait for the next
yeah, man,
two.
we're attracting the nerds. So, fellow nerds, we're about to reach part two, which is The Thing, and we're going to be covering The Thing 1982, and then the prequel, The Thing 2011. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it in order of release. I would say there's a reason for that, but it's purely because I accidentally watched them the wrong way around. So, we'll roll with it. So yeah, The Thing. Are we saying it's criminally underrated in comparison to, like we say, Alien and Aliens? Everyone has seen Alien and Aliens. You say The Thing,
Yeah,
not many people have seen
I
it.
think if you're a film person, you know how good this film
Yeah,
is, and you'll know John Carpenter, and you'll know all about that sort of stuff. If you're sort of a newbie or you haven't watched that many films, I think especially if you like science fiction or horror, either or, this should be one of your top films to watch straight
yeah,
away.
for sure. Yeah, anyone listening who hasn't watched The Thing, I mean, this is obviously going to have spoilers, but take it as like inspiration to go and watch it because even being
Oh, I don't think even us talking about it will spoil
yeah, yeah.
any of these films because we're not doing these films justice. These films need to be
Mhm.
watched.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, even in this being released in 1982, and everything about it is purely um, real in the way that there's like animatronics and whatnot. It is. It still stands up to this day. It
Oh,
puts modern CGI to
yeah,
shame. Some of the scenes in this
definitely.
movie. It is
Yeah.
truly, yeah, incredible. So yeah, we'll dive straight in. Do you want to go ahead and do a synopsis of The
I
Thing,
will do the synopsis.
1982?
The Thing. A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. The group is overcome by paranoia and conflict as they learn that they can no longer trust each other and that any of them could be the Thing.
The Thing. Yes, and that's it. And what a basic name for it. Well, I suppose it follows suit with Alien. It's called Alien because there's
Yeah.
an alien. It's called The Thing because there's a thing coming for them.
Well, the original, I don't know how much you know originally about this, but the thing is originally based on a book called Who Goes There,
Right, I did. Yeah, I did see
which
this.
was which was a short book, but there was a 1950s film called The Thing from Another
Right.
World, which this is actually based on.
Okay, interesting. Have you read and seen that movie?
I haven't read Who Goes There, but I have watched The Thing from Another World. It's from the
Yeah.
1950s. It's still actually really good. It's not. There are no animatronics or any. The monster is very much a monster of the week, Frankenstein-looking
Yeah.
person, but it does really well with the sort of paranoia. No one can trust each
Hmm.
other, and it was based around the time when there was all about all the Russia stuff, all the
Yeah.
communist sort of stuff. So it plays on that kind of stuff a lot more. But if you like The Thing and The Thing 2011, I really think you should watch The Thing from Another World because it's very dated, but it does have its moments where it's actually really, really
Okay,
good.
awesome. I'll have to check it out because this is timeless. So what's inspired it has got to be timeless as well. So for sure, I'll be checking that out.
Yeah,
Yeah. So in one of the greatest introductions to a horror movie, um, I mean, I'm saying that it's incredible, but on your first watch, you don't know why it's incredible. It's only upon finishing the film that you know why it's so good. Um,
yeah.
yeah, we will get to that rather than starting with that. So just a little bit up about it. I've got here in remote Antarctica, a group of American research scientists are disturbed at their base camp by a helicopter shooting at a sled dog. So this is your opening scene. They take in the dog. It brutally attacks both humans. Sorry, it brutally attacks both human beings and canines in the camp, and they discover that the beast can assume the shape of its victims. A resourceful helicopter pilot, which played by Kurt Russell, and the camp doctor led the camp crew in a desperate, gory battle against a vicious creature before it picks them all off one by one. So, as I've just mentioned, you got this helicopter that's just shooting at a dog for no reason. We don't know why they're shooting at this dog. They land the helicopter, and this Norwegian pilot. It must be one of like the funniest deaths of a movie. The way
Yeah.
like he tries to launch a grenade at this dog, and somehow instead of throwing it forwards, he accidentally throws it backwards and blows up his own helicopter. Um, Christ knows what he was doing at that point. But that was so funny to watch the other day. I actually like physically chuckled, and normally it's just like
Yeah.
things don't make you laugh like that.
It's like something from a Bond
Yeah.
film where people just go, oh shit, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
So something's obviously gone wrong. The crew at the moment, featuring Kurt Russell, doesn't realise that this dog is not all as it seems. It's just a lovely dog. I'm sure the dog starts like licking the face and whatever. So, oh, this is a nice dog. We'll take him in. So they take the dog in. They realise that this helicopter was Norwegian, and they're able to see on their records that there was a Norwegian base not too far from where they are. So Kurt Russell and crew head over to the Norwegian compound to see what's going on, only to find like a desolate site that's just burnt to a crisp. Upon further inspection, they find the crew, some who have actually committed suicide, which is like, it's a pretty gruesome scene, isn't it? That one.
It's quite horrible. Yeah. It looks like
Uh-huh.
brutal. Yeah. Straight away you think, I might be here for some body horror here
Yeah.
because this is fucked
Hmm.
up.
That's it for sure. This is 100% a body horror movie, without a doubt. There's this guy that's like cut his wrists, and he's obviously been there for a while. Obviously, I've mentioned they're in Antarctica, and his blood is just frozen whilst still connected to him. Truly gruesome. The remaining people that were there were just in a heap, just smouldering, obviously being set on fire. Have you got anything to add on to that before I move on to further bits?
I would say that McCready, who's the character who's played by Kurt
Hmm.
Russell, it's automatically sort of sets him up as someone who doesn't take any
Yeah.
shit because he's playing chess with the
Hmm.
computer
Oh yeah.
and the computer
Uh,
beats him. So he just shoves a load of J&B whiskey into the computer, like, fuck
yeah.
you. You beat me, you bastard. Because obviously, it seems like they've been there for a long
Yeah.
time. They're all a little bit sort of wound up. They're, they've been in each other's company for a long time. They're obviously all good friends. Again, kind of like Aliens, it does a really good job of setting up the
Yeah.
people. You feel like they've been there for a long time. They feel like good characters, real people. And I just like the way that he's just like, "Fuck you, oh, fuck off." So that kind of sets up his
Yeah.
character as a sort of, I'm not kind of like Ripley. I'm not going to take any
Mhm.
shit. I got a strong head. I'm going to take control of a
Yeah.
situation if it gets beyond my control. So that's a sort of nice
Mhm.
setup
Yeah,
for that bit.
he's
But I like, and I think one of the other bits which is like a legendary shot is when they go to the other base and they obviously find the giant block of
mhm.
ice, which just has a giant sort of dip
Yeah.
in it, and you think,
What was in that?
something's got out of that block of ice. Yeah, what got out of that block
Mhm.
of ice? So that bit's really a little cool setup.
Yeah. No, you're right. And in relation to Kurt Russell's character, what was Kurt Russell's character's name? Sorry, McCready.
McCready.
Okay, so McCready's character, he's obviously the outsider of the group. He's just there. He's the pilot essentially, isn't he? So he doesn't have like personal relationships with any of these other people. So he's very much. Well, you'll realise later on when we talk about it how in good, how much he's in a good position almost when it comes to a bit of a who's done it version of the
Yeah,
film later on.
yeah. I like that. It's very much
Who
who
done it?
done it
Yeah.
kind.
Hmm.
It is. It really is. Yeah, and you do get that feeling when later in the film when they're trying to figure stuff out. It is kind of like a almost like a murder
Yeah.
mystery, but differently because you're like,
Yeah.
who, who? Yeah, yeah. It's good.
Okay, so yeah, as I say, the big old pile of just smouldering bodies in the snow, and then they find a disfigured human-like creature sizzling away among the pile, and they take it back to the camp for autopsy. I'm not sure why they're actually what the outpost is doing, but the fact that they've got a doctor who's in a position to carry out an autopsy and he's got the
Yeah,
knowledge to do that,
I, I
I don't
think
quite get that.
I think they're there to do like deep polar
Yeah,
exploration. So they're there to like dig down and have a look at what's in the ice and possibly find stuff, which is, yeah, I don't know why they don't have any contact with the other
yeah,
station because you would have thought that because they're so
yeah.
close, they would have had some sort of
Hmm.
contact, even though they are completely different teams. But yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't go into that too
No,
much.
that's it. So, yeah, they carry out this autopsy again. Why they've got the ability to carry out an autopsy, I do not know. All this time, the dog that the crew had taken in has just been kicking about the building, checking everything out. It's good how they do it. Really, that they're just recording it. It's clever how they got the dog to do it in a way because the dog just walks down a corridor, stops, and then turns and looks into a room, scans that room. Okay, there's nobody in there, and then it walks further, scans another room. Oh, there's someone in there, and the dog just goes in. End of the scene.
Yeah. John Carpenter said in interviews he was blown away with how good the
Yeah,
dog was. When they were doing the shots of the dog, he said it only took literally one or two takes to get the dog to do all of these little movements, and he said that that was such a he was just very surprised at how well those shots came off of just the dog sort of
yeah.
walking through the place. So that's a really nice
Hmm.
shot as
No,
well.
it was impressive, and it was unnerving. But for your first time watch, you didn't know why it was unnerving because you didn't know what this dog could do, would do, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
and I like the way you see it to go into
mhm.
someone's room, but you don't know whose room
Yeah.
it was or who was in the room. You just see a
Hmm.
shadow of someone lean forward to the dog. So it gives you that again, like a who done it. Like, who
Yeah.
is that? Who's the first person that's gonna, become something else? Which is another really, really
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
little
for
idea.
sure. Yeah, I love it. And we end the night with them putting the dog away with the other dogs because they've got a team of dogs which obviously like pull sleds and whatnot. So they just think, okay, we'll just chuck this dog with the rest of them. And herein comes like the sight of what they've actually allowed into the camp, and this is the start of the timeless, just incredible. Um, I wouldn't call it animatronics. We were saying like puppetry, maybe some of these.
Yeah, I think there's some animatronics, there's a lot of puppetry
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, all that sort of stuff they were using back then, all those
Hmm.
techniques.
But
Yeah,
honestly, it looked
but the
so good.
ideas, the concepts, and the way and it looks so inhuman and
Hmm.
horrible, and like we were saying about body
Yeah.
horror, it's just sick. When you look at every shape this thing's in, it's just sickening. It's like, oh, this is unnatural.
Yeah. But as you say, unhuman, but it's so organic. It looks so alive. It does look real. I mean, there's so many poor
Yeah,
examples of stop motion puppetry and whatnot over the years where it just completely takes you out of the movie. Like,
definitely.
it
Yeah,
looks so bad that you just, okay, brings you back to reality. But watching this, it doesn't do that in the slightest. It could be released
well,
today and it'd still be just as scary.
Rob Bottin, who done the effects in this film, this is a crazy fact. Do you know he was 22 when they started
Yeah,
filming
as
this?
if,
He was in charge of all the special
no
effects,
way.
and he went on to do some of my other favorite science fiction films. He done the effects on Total Recall, which is hands down one of my
Yeah, you can
favorite
see the
films,
similarities.
and
Yeah,
RoboCop, which is hands down one of my favorite
yeah.
films. So this guy really knew what the fuck
Hmm.
he was
Yeah.
doing.
I mean, you can definitely see the similarities, can't you? I mean, Arnie with his face exploding, and at the end of RoboCop when he goes in the acid or whatever it is. It's just, I can see it
Yeah,
now that you've said it. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
It's great. So yeah, we see this creature just explode out of the dog, like the dog's face just kind of peels back, exposing the skull, and it has all these tentacles come out of it and starts taking out the dogs one by one. And this is, you know, we realise what the crew has got themselves into. It's not just this, really nice pooch that they've just acquired. It's something quite the
yeah. It
opposite.
makes you feel really sad as well because all the dogs look so
Yeah,
cute
yeah,
and they all look really scared. And there's the one bit that always gets me every time is when there's that one dog trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
bite its way out, trying to get out and
Hmm.
away, and the thing keeps on trying to
Yeah,
grab it. And I'm like, oh, I feel so sorry for these dogs. They're just trying to get out of
that's
there.
it.
It's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. So where are we now? The crew starts looking through the Norwegian gear that they came back with to find tapes of research being carried out, leading them to a site in which an alien spacecraft had been discovered. So there was a spacecraft that they'd found underground, essentially. They found this specimen, and going back to what you mentioned, the dig it out of the ice, keep it as a block, and then you get that scene at the Norwegian camp where it's just kind of like thawed out as if something's escaped from it. So again, awesome shot. Time passes
Yeah.
and the specimens. Sorry, oh, did they have other specimens that they'd brought back?
I think it was just that one that they had in a body bag.
Okay, right. So at this point, it just seems to have become evident. In fact, no, I do apologize. We've missed the stage where the humans actually realize that the dog may not be a dog; it may be an alien, and then they make the realization: well, where have we put the dog? We've put the dog with the other dogs, so they all run downstairs, don't they? At this stage, that's what it was, um, and they're seeing exactly what's going on. This alien thing's going mental, and I think it's at this point that Kurt Russell breaks out the flamethrower for the first time and just
Yeah.
burns this thing to a crisp. Um, and they think that's the end of it, but obviously this dog's had interactions with almost every single member of the team, and we're assuming that it's physical contact in which this alien can imitate organic
Yeah.
beings. So one by one, the thing starts to imitate these humans, but we don't know who he is when it's one person and when it's another. Um, we don't know, but I mean, to be honest, I've written here. Luckily, the team witnessed the first attempt and burned the thing along with the remaining specimens. It seems as though it doesn't have to be one alien at one time. It seems like it can kind of like multiply.
Just morphs off from
Yeah,
anything.
so
Yeah.
it kind
Yeah.
of multiplies, and there's like multiple entities going on. So they burn the specimens that they know of, hoping that that's the end of it. And but the thing is, they don't know that that's the end of it. So they all start kind of looking at each room and being like, "You're acting a bit shifty. What's going on?" And I think a bit of what's it called? Not jungle fever. What am I trying to think? Cabin fever. Some
Yeah. Oh
a
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
fever of sorts. So
Yeah.
they all start getting cabin fever and expecting each other to be the alien.
That's where the paranoia comes into this
Yeah.
film, because you can see them interacting in the
Hmm.
beginning, and then as soon as a little bit of doubt
Yeah.
creeps in, they start acting very, very differently towards each other. So people that were quite close before are kind of like, eh, I'm going to stand over
Yeah.
here because I'm not sure about any of you guys anymore. And that's what I like about it. It really builds the kind of paranoia where you're like, well, you could be, but you could be as well. So
Yeah.
this isn't great.
That's it. I mean, they do pick up ways of kind of singling out who it could be later on. Um, but for this point, I'm right in thinking one of them seems to have died or passed out. So they take him in and they try and bring him back to life because he's passed out. They
Yeah.
try and use this defibrillator, and I consider this scene to be like one of the best classic horror scenes ever. Just the way
Yeah.
that it's made, like the
Definitely.
motion capture, the puppetry, everything. It's incredible. So the doctor's there with his paddles trying to resuscitate that guy. He takes one shot, nothing happens. Okay, charge him up again. He goes to take the next shot, and his chest just opens up with his like big sharp teeth. So the doctor's arms go straight into his chest. The mouth closes and just bites his arms clean off.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible,
Like
isn't it?
serious body horror. And yeah, at this point, shit hits the fan. Craziness ensues, and the one where the chest has opened, he just then morphs into this like ungodly creature, like his limbs stretching everywhere, and just incredible. It looks incredible. It really does. Um,
It does.
so yeah, these crazy aliens out to just consume anyone that it can. I mean, we don't even know its intentions at this point. It's just it's an alien. It needs to eat everyone it can, kind of thing. So Kurt Russell knocking about with a flamethrower, and yeah, it just this kind of becomes like the final scenes of the film almost. Everyone's being picked off one at a time, and the need to find out, okay, how can we determine which ones of us are genuine and who is the true alien. So the next
Yeah.
test for them to take, they think, is blood samples, because in using the flamethrower, they've determined that the alien, it doesn't like it. It doesn't like heat. The alien
Reacts
reacts
to
to
heat.
heat.
Yeah.
So they think, okay, we're going to take blood samples and we're going to heat up this wire and we're going to poke it in the blood. They're thinking infected blood would react, as it wouldn't want to be harmed. So it's quite a tense scene where one by one
Oh, it's
they all take it in
so, and
turns.
I love their
Yeah,
reactions. Like they don't know that they're not the
yeah, yeah.
thing, so they're also paranoid about it. And when he dips it in and it goes,
Hmm.
tss, and the person's like, "Oh, thank God, I'm not
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing." Like they're all so paranoid, and I love that scene, just
Hmm.
dipping it
Yeah,
in.
it's interesting that the paranoid, even though in their head they know that they're not the thing, they still believe that something could possibly happen when they test their blood. Yeah, so
I think the worst bit about that is that McCready, obviously with a flamethrower, straps them all to
yeah, you're right.
chairs. So they're all strapped next to
Yeah.
each other, which is the worst thing that could possibly
Hmm.
happen.
Yeah, so one by one they go through it. You're not it. You're not it. And yeah, finally it lands on someone, and the blood just fires a tentacle into the air, knocks McCready out of the way, and yeah, we now know who the thing is. And again, another brilliant body horror scene where this human's head just opens into like a Venus flytrap almost, and munches down on the other guys, and it's just incredible. And that's another two characters down. So
Yeah.
being munched down one by one, and uh, you'll have to fill in a bit here, because as far as I remember, this is like the final section where they go down into the mines.
Yeah, so that
Yeah,
happens. So this is about probably three-quarters of the way
yeah.
through now. Obviously, all the paranoia, them searching, all that stuff, the bodies. Then they do that, and then him and is it him, Childs, and yeah, they escape. There's 2 or 3
Yeah.
of them, but they're still being picked
Hmm.
off. And then yeah, the other guy gets hit with the he gets his face bitten off. And then it's just him and Childs, and then they go, right, we're not fucking
Hmm.
around anymore. Everyone's infected but us because we know because we've been together, we both
Yeah.
tested our blood. And they're like, we've got to do something about this. So they walk around with the flamethrower and they follow what they think the path of the alien is. But as it turns out, one of them has been the thing for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they go down into the ice, they realize that they're trying to build another
Hmm.
ship to
That's
escape.
it. You're right. Yeah. Earlier on in the film, we come to realize that someone had been like we thought were just destroying the means of exit, which was the helicopter. But in the end, it turns out they were taking parts of the helicopter to create a new ship, and as you say, to escape. Yeah. So the two survivors that we thought we do have that were going to take out the alien. Turns out one of them is in fact, yeah, the alien, or at least a form of the alien. Um, yeah, carnage ensues down in this. It's like a mine, isn't it? Essentially, bit of
Yeah.
to and froing, flame throwing, and ends with a big old explosion, doesn't it? Dynamite to the alien, blows him off, and yeah, that's it. End of
Yeah,
Mister.
and then I think it's got one of the best mystery endings of all
Yeah.
time of any film
Hmm.
ever, because McCready's been off by
Yeah.
himself because of the explosion. Childs has been off because of the
Hmm.
explosion. The whole place is on fire. Everything's burning. McCready's sitting there, and then Charles walks in, and they just go, "Okay, let's just sit down." They sit down together. They're probably going to freeze to
Yeah.
death out there because they can't go inside, and they just decide to just start drinking. You don't know who's been off
Yeah.
where, who's been attacked. They could both be
Hmm.
human. They could both be the thing. One of them could be. You just don't know. And I think that is one of the most
Yeah.
ominous, I don't know what's going to happen
Hmm.
endings to any film. It genuinely is. And if you go back through the film, you can kind of identify
Yeah.
who. To be fair, there was a part before McCready went off by himself and he comes back with the flamethrower, but then he's killing all of the other things. But then you think, are they just an animal that wants to survive? They don't care about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
other versions of the things. So you think he technically
Hmm.
could be, but they play it off as he's the lead of
Yeah.
the film.
But it would have been an
So
interesting twist
there are,
if in the whole time he was like
yeah,
the main alien, and it was just picking off smaller
yeah.
ones. But yeah, but no, it is brilliant.
John Carpenter says he knows who
Yeah,
it is and he will never tell.
that's the perfect thing about it. That's the way to end a film like this, not milk it and create three more sequels. You know what I mean?
No, just leave it nice and ominous. John Carpenter
Yeah,
knows who it is. He will never tell anyone unless it's on
yeah,
his deathbed. The man will never
mm,
tell anyone who the thing actually is at the end of that
that's
film.
awesome. Love it. So another timeless classic for sure.
Oh,
Um,
so good. I've got a couple of other little facts
yeah, yeah.
about that as well. Um, there's actually a John Carpenter connection to the thing before he even
Okay.
made it. So, uh, John Carpenter's first big feature film,
Hmm.
Halloween. In Halloween, when Laurie Strode is babysitting the kids, they're watching The Thing from Another World on the TV
Oh wow, that's cool.
because John Carpenter was a huge fan of that film even back then.
Yeah,
So he was even linked to The Thing before he'd even made it, which is
yeah,
cool. Um, Also, the crazy thing about this is it goes hand in hand with Blade Runner. This was released the same day as Blade Runner
yeah,
in 1982. Both of those films bombed at the cinema big time. And now both of those films are considered to be two of the greatest science fiction films ever
yeah.
made.
Held in real
So
high
it's
regard. Yeah,
yeah, so it's kind of crazy that they both came out the same day, both massively bombed, but also went on to be considered to be two absolute classics. Also, um, John Carpenter was absolutely devastated that this film was panned by
Yeah.
critics and didn't do well at the time. Apparently, it almost made him not want to direct another movie because he thought it was a great film and everyone hated it
Yeah.
at the time.
It's got to be gutting, hasn't it? And I hope that now he's had this, um, he's really been treated, and he's been treated the way he should have been for this movie. Because I look at this, I didn't realize it was so poorly received back then, but I think I see this as one of the greatest of all time. I really do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Within the science fiction horror community, this is considered to be an absolute classic.
Yeah.
But it is crazy that, that and Blade Runner at the time both, and there you go, there's another Ridley Scott
Yeah.
connection.
Hmm.
But yeah, both panned by
Hmm.
critics, not liked at the time, but end up being two of the best films ever. I was going to say as well, if you like this film or if you love this film, there is an X Files episode
Yeah.
called Ice. So in 2022, me and Vicky watched all of the X Files from start to finish. In the first season, I can't remember what episode number it is. There's an episode called
Yeah.
Ice, which is basically this film, but it's a bit more. It's not an alien that goes into you body wise. It's a bit more sort of paranormal, where it goes between you,
Right.
like as an entity. But if you like this film, watch the episode Ice X Files because it's fucking great and it's a massive homage to the
To
thing.
this. Okay. I'll check it out. Can I watch it as a standalone? I've never watched
Yeah.
X Files. Yeah.
Just watch it as a standalone. It's fine. But X Files is one of the greatest series of all time.
Mhm.
But you can just watch Ice, and I think being a fan of the thing,
Yeah.
you'll really appreciate it.
Awesome. I will check it out. Right. Shall we? Do you want to hit me with a out of 10 rating for yourself?
I mean, it's about as close to 10 as you can get. But again, I'm sorry, but it's a 9 out of 10 film. It's absolutely unreal. One of my favorite films.
Hmm.
I love most John Carpenter movies, but this is probably top for his movies. Maybe They Live as well is possibly up there for me
Yeah.
for many other different reasons. Halloween obviously is
Yeah.
incredible. Escape from New York. He's a classic director, but you can't get better than this film. If you like horror, it's just unfucking real.
Yeah.
Great tension, fantastic effects, just a wowzer movie, start to finish.
Perfect. Yeah. A true timeless classic. Definitely. But we've mentioned that we don't know how it's finished. They shouldn't do a sequel. So what did they do? They made a prequel. So we were discussing this before we started recording, and you're saying for years you didn't watch it because you thought it was a remake.
Yeah, well, because when it came out, they didn't give you any inkling as to. They didn't spoil it. Basically, they didn't show the trailer and show you that it was. Well, not from my memory. They might have,
Yeah.
but I just thought, sorry, no.
Yeah.
There's no way you're remaking one of the greatest films ever made. And then years later, having to learn it's actually a prequel to the thing, and I was like, okay, now I want to watch it. So yeah, I did. But we'll get into the film. But yeah, for years I did not know that this was a prequel. I thought it was a remake, which is why I left it alone for so long.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't think I watched it when it very first came out, but upon watching it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. When I first watched it, I mean, I probably struggled watching it this time because I'm cramming so many movies. I've never watched so many movies in all my days, to be honest. Watching a film every night, and recording conflicts and whatever this week. I ended up having to watch these two movies one after the other. So I was flagging during this next one. But don't let it put you off maybe how little I've noted it. You should definitely still watch it. But now we've finished that first The Thing of 1982, and now you know that this is a prequel, you'll then become to understand why that first scene is so incredible in the original 82 movie.
Yes.
Once you know for sure.
Yeah.
So do you want to go ahead and do your introduction?
I'll do the synopsis, yes. So a paleontologist joins a team of scientists in Antarctica where they discover an alien buried in ice. However, things take a turn when the alien escapes and goes on a killing spree.
Ooh, does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
to be
Let me
honest,
think about that.
in relation to the original, it is very similar. I think if they were to just take out the final scene that we see of this movie, you could probably
Mhm.
argue it is a remake, a reimagining,
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, I've put in here a weird prequel question mark, soft
Yeah,
reboot
hmm
question mark, because kind of feels like that.
yeah,
It doesn't feel like a John Carpenter movie. It feels like a different
yeah,
film, but it is treading a lot of the same water that the first one, yeah,
hmm
done. So
for sure. I mean, yeah, it could very much be a new age version of the older film, just bringing like new age technologies and stuff in, and having a female lead rather than a male lead and whatever. It's just like a modernized version,
yeah,
um, but in turn becomes a prequel. So yeah, essentially, there's a Norwegian outpost that finds an organism and an alien spacecraft, and they just search for a paleontologist. I'm not sure why they go for the person that they do, whether she's a renowned paleontologist or what. I've got no idea. Um, American paleontologist that they bring over and show her this alien, and she's gobsmacked. And yeah, they've found an alien. It's incredible. Um, we essentially she just starts drilling into this alien. Again, pick up on any bits that I may miss. That drill into the alien, and it's quite a funny scene actually. They're taking it so slow, drilling into the ice, and it's like centimeter by centimeter further into the ice, and then all of a sudden it's just, and then just kind of drills
yeah,
into the alien.
slip. Yeah. That's good. I like that
um,
because that's what happens sometimes when you're drilling. It your drill goes through, and then when you reach that
yeah,
point, the fucking drill's gone. It's just gone straight through. So that is actually quite
yeah,
realistic. I like that.
that's it. It ends up puncturing the alien. Um, and this must be the thing that awakens it, whether it like exposing it to the external atmospheres or what. Wakes the alien up, it escapes, and then it's like, oh shit, we've woken up this alien. What do we do? Let's try and find it quick. Um, and yeah, it follows the same who done it, um, you know, blueprint as the first film. So it's all very. I mean, this is upon the point in which they realise that it can um, take over the appearance of someone else. But we do still get that who done it movie.
Yeah,
Essentially, I can't remember the first instance in which it takes over someone's identity, but once it's apparent, it's all very much the same film. Some of the
yeah,
animation and CGI in this film, although it was low budget, I think it stands up really well. I think it's quite well made. None of it took me out of the film, and some of it is truly well. I'd probably say the final scene, maybe a bit of it took me out, but
yeah.
majority of it, I thought it looked pretty good. How it like consumes other humans and whatever. Um,
It's pretty good from what I've read about the film. They actually did want to do full
yeah.
animatronics and no
Oh,
CGI,
okay.
but the studio said it was taking too long. So they do use animatronics in the film, and some of the bits look really, really
Yeah.
great. But when they overlap it with CGI, it doesn't look as believable as the first one because your brain automatically knows you're looking at something that's not real.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a mix of both. I would have loved to have seen what the film would have looked like if they had the time to do the full animatronics for the movie. I think that might have highlighted it a bit
hmm
more. Nothing looks bad in the film,
No, no.
but it doesn't. It's kind of weird how films so far after 1982 can not look as good.
hmm Yeah.
Nothing's bad, and some of the bits do look quite good, but some of the CGI, you're just like, man, if they just if they and they wanted to be fair, the effects
Yeah.
team, but the studio did not allow them to go the full hog with it, which kind of lets it down a
Yeah.
little bit, I think.
Just cheapens it a little bit slightly, maybe.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think of comparisons I could make to this, and certain parts of it really reminded me of, like the design of it reminded me of the necromorphs from Dead Space. Like a real
Oh yeah, yeah.
similarity to the way that they it becomes.
That's a film I've been waiting for I mean, I am a huge fan of the Dead
Yeah.
Space games, and I mean, talk about a fantastic premise for a
Hmm.
movie. I mean, if you want to do a sci-fi horror movie, just fucking remake the first
Yeah.
game. I mean, you don't need to do anything. It's all
Hmm.
there. Everything is there. Just do it. I think that would be like the thing but set in space,
Yeah.
which is yeah. I think that would be a great idea.
It's essentially like a binding of the two, isn't it? Alien and The Thing. Like, there's no way that they
Yeah.
didn't take inspiration from these two
Oh,
sets of
yeah.
films.
Hundred
Yeah.
percent, 100%. You could do a lot with it. I think that would be really great. People have talked about it for
Yeah.
years. There's loads of scripts gone round and all sorts of shit, but nothing, unfortunately, has ever come to fruition. Like the Mass Effect
Hmm.
film as well, that I've been waiting for the last 20
Yeah.
years. I don't think that's ever gonna get the go ahead, but people have been talking about that for years. Which again is it's all
Hmm.
there. You have it all. You don't need to go to a book or get someone to write a new script. You just make a cool film out of the stuff you already have.
Yeah.
But
I,
I don't think they're gonna do that one
I
either.
mean, poor examples, maybe putting off the guys funding it and whatnot, like Gears of War. That's a movie series in the running for years, as you say. Mass Effect,
Yeah.
Halo, obviously released their series, and it's just been
Oh,
canned.
yeah, yeah.
So maybe these poor examples are putting off production
That's another
companies.
weird connection to Neil Blomkamp again, the guy who done District 9 who was going to do that Alien. He done test footage for a Halo movie. It's
Yeah.
online. You should
Oh,
watch it.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
Oh,
if.
and, it's it's only small
Yeah.
bits, but you're thinking, fuck, if they'd have let this guy do a Halo movie, we could be in for some real fucking good shit here. But
Yeah.
it never came to fruition. But there is test footage on YouTube.
As if. I'll have to check it out. I mean, we bring it back to him. If there's going to be a Dead Space movie, please give it to him. Because can you
Oh,
imagine?
yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be great. Yes,
that'd
please.
be incredible. Um, Another comparison I made. There's a pretty gross scene. I am going to apologise. We're not. You can if you want, if you've got your notes, but I was obviously half asleep whilst watching this movie, so I haven't taken as many notes. Pretty fucking stupid notes I've taken here, to be honest.
Go on.
Pretty gross bit later on when one of the things crawl on top of a dude and goes like cheek to cheek, like
Yeah.
faces together, and they kind of stick together, and he absorbs them. And the only comparison I could think of is when your balls stick to your thigh. But in
It's a
like
good comparison. That's kind of what
reverse
it looks like.
order.
Yeah.
This is how the guy gets consumed. Yeah,
That's probably one of the best looking bits of the film,
yeah,
actually,
I'd say so.
when that goes over
Mhm.
him and the faces start to. That's one of the scenes that's kind of
Yeah,
I always remember from that film is the faces coming to because it's just really freaky to have like
yeah,
another head next to you and like the mouths are all warped together. I like
mhm,
that bit. That was a cool. Again, who knows what they could have done with some. And there is some practical effects in that
yeah,
part when the thing's crawling over him.
yeah.
That's all practical. That looks great. The faces do look good, but yeah, the CGI bit, you're just like, oh, I could have
Nearly.
seen that done practically. That would have been amazing. But yeah, it's still a good scene.
Mhm. That's it. So yeah, unless you've got notes, the premise is it's essentially the same as the first. Proper whodunit mystery. People get picked off one by one. I can't quite remember the means of like the process of elimination in this one. I seem to remember them doing it. Like in the first one, they did the blood samples. I can't quite. That's what it was. Really clever, actually, because the thing was purely organic. Um,
It's about the
it's
metal.
about metal in the body, so
She's doing the
so
teeth.
they
Yeah,
made the realization that it was purely organic. It could not house anything non-organic, and she did this by finding someone's fillings on the floor in the bathroom. So the way they
yeah.
did it was they checked everyone's mouths, and if they had fillings, it was like, okay, we know 100% you are not the thing. And I was thinking, like, what about if one of these guys had just genuinely got really good dental history?
Well, that's what they do in this scene because there's three
Yeah,
of them that don't. I don't have any fillings,
same. Yeah,
so you would think that I'm the
yeah,
thing. We both would be. So I like the way that she pushes the three of them to the side, and she's like, "Right, you three. We're not saying you are the
yeah,
thing, but I don't know because." And he's like, "What? So I'm going to be killed because I've got perfect
yeah,
teeth?" That's what he says to her, and I get that because I'm like, I'd be
yeah.
gone because I got no fillings. Like, so I get that, and then they're all sort of like, and I think one of them is because he eventually comes out of that
Mm,
scene as the
yeah,
thing. But the other two are they're just guys that have just never had any
yeah,
feelings. Poor guys.
yeah. I mean, you cut to the end of the film. Really, have you got anything else to cover on the body of the film?
I've got sort of just a little overview so we can get to the
Yeah, yeah,
end.
go for it.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do
You
that
do that
after.
after.
I'll do this
Oh,
bit
okay.
after.
So
Yeah, yeah.
relating to the same with what we just said, no foreign bodies within the person's body, and the way that she makes the realization at the end, like she's gone down to the spaceship. The alien has followed her down there. They've had a big face off, quite reminiscent to Ripley and the alien in both films, really. Manages to defeat the alien, and there's two survivors, herself, and he was essentially the other main character. And he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get off. We're gonna get out of this. We're gonna survive." And she's talking to him, and it was like, I can't remember the way she worded it, but it was almost like, "Do you know how I know that you're not you?" He's like, "Because you have an earring." And he feels his ear, and she goes, "No, it was the other ear." So like
Mm.
straight away,
Mhm.
she knew that was the thing. Jumps out the truck,
Yeah.
sets him ablaze, and yeah, that's it. She's the lone
I
survivor.
like that bit because it's if you watch it again, it's really subtle because she looks at him in the
Yeah,
van and he's like, "Okay, let's get out of it." And she goes, "Okay, I just got to check something in the back of the
yeah,
van." She goes to get the flamethrower,
yeah,
then comes back and then says to him, he's like, "Come on,
yeah.
we're gonna go." And she goes, "Yeah. Do you know how I know you're not?" Yeah, and I thought that bit was
Yeah,
really
it
good.
is.
I thought that was like a little extra little bit onto it, and then she tortures the shit out
Yeah,
of
for
him.
sure. Funny though, that one is like tortures the shit out of him. I'm like, well, how is she going to escape? Like, she's got no means of escape. And then it just pans to the left, and then there's another perfectly good vehicle waiting for her almost.
Yeah,
So she obviously escapes in there, and it's a fade to black situation. But then
yeah,
this is where we get our epilogue, which leads us into the original film of 1982, which in reality is probably the only part that connects the two films. I'd say. Like there's throughout the film, there's no
yeah.
indication that this is a prologue.
No, I mean finding the ship. You might have been like,
Yeah.
because the other guys find the ship, but it didn't. It didn't allude to that. It could have been this.
Do we have aliens?
Hold on, my cats are fighting. Hold on.
We have cats fighting on the pod. Sorry, we just had a squeal from somewhere.
2 minutes, 2 seconds.
It's all right.
Sorry, that was actually quite scary because you said about aliens, and then all of a sudden I heard a wow outside. I was like, "What the fuck is going on out there?" I think my two cats were fighting with the next door's cat, and I was like, "I better go out there in case it's a fox or
Yeah.
something." So
You had to break it up, pull them apart.
yeah, I had to. I let one in. She ran in. Put my head out, turned the light on outside, and then I saw the other one run in as well. And I was like, "For
Uh,
fuck's sake!"
I can't even think where we were, to be honest.
Mm.
Earrings.
So at the end, yeah,
Yeah.
with the
Mhm.
earring, I think that was quite a clever way, obviously. And then you were saying that it leads
Yes,
into the
that's where
other
we
film.
were. Yeah, so quite clever. We didn't realise at all that this was a prequel, unless you're clever enough to put two and two together. But at the very end, it just fades to black, fades back into light, and we have the essentially what happens prior to the start of the first film, where we have you have the helicopter that comes to the Norwegian. I'm baffled. I'm trying to think here, and I cannot think what the fuck happened. What happened?
So I think it was probably like another guy was probably going back to check on them or to maybe go back after a certain amount
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
time. And obviously he lands and then he sees the dog running out.
yeah. But I'm racking my brain thinking, why did he think it was the dog that was the issue? Because surely he must have been one of the survivors.
No, it was another. There was some reason there was another person in there that runs out after the dog,
Yeah,
and then that person goes to get in the ship with him. That's what I remember.
yeah,
And then they both go up in the
yeah.
helicopter. So yeah, that bit's probably quite
Mm-hmm.
confusing, but
We've sold
yeah,
this to be
that's what
incredible, and
happens.
we've both forgotten what happened. So essentially, they see the dog come out of the compound. Obviously, at this point, we think that the alien's been destroyed. The alien runs off. Someone who's aware that this is not a dog, it is an alien, um, jumps into the rescue helicopter and starts to try and shoot it. And it turns out this is the pilot and the fellow with the gun at the start of the 1982 film, and this is the exact same dog at the start of the 1982 film as well. So if you're to watch 2011 first and then 1982, it is literally a seamless run,
Yeah,
essentially.
it runs straight into the next one, which is good. They actually use some of the same shots
Yeah.
as well.
Hmm.
They blend it really nicely. Some of the helicopter shots were helicopter shots they used from the first
Yeah.
film in the prequel, which actually blends it really, really well
Yeah, it's
together.
cool. I like it. I mean, I suppose I'd be surprised if someone hasn't. You could probably make like a super edit of this where you um, cut out the credits and just fit the two together and just make yourself
Straight in.
a 4.5 hour
Oh, you could
movie
do
or
that. Yeah,
something.
you could do that. No
Yeah.
problem.
So yeah, it's great. It's not the best film ever. It's definitely got rewatchability, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think it can completely. Didn't make much money at all, but I think it's a good film. It's not a great film, but it is a good film. And if
It's okay. I mean, the notes I've got written down here is the first 20 minutes of the film are really
yeah,
dull because the first one doesn't have to set up anything; it puts you straight
yeah,
into it. And the thing 2011, it has those first 20 minutes where it kind of sets everything up, sets up the people, sets her up. Has a similar beginning to the first one. The characters aren't as believable as in the first
hmm,
one. They don't really feel like they're a proper
yeah,
unit. The characters aren't really as interesting as the first one, so you're not as
yeah.
invested in these
It's
people as you are in the
They're
first
almost
movie.
just straight up cannon fodder. You realise that they're just there to
Yeah,
be killed, almost.
yeah, yeah. The John Carpenter one, they kind of separate the people individually as individual
Yeah.
characters and give them identity, so you feel for them. I don't like the first 20 minutes of this
Hmm.
film. The middle's okay. I think the last 20 minutes of this film are really good.
Yeah.
I think the last bit where they go into the ship with her trying to fight off, I think all of that and the ending of her noticing the
Yeah.
earring, all that bit is great. It's a shame that the rest of the film couldn't be as
Yeah.
good. I I think the thing about this film is sometimes not knowing is better than knowing what happened. So it's an okay
Hmm.
film. Is it Did it need to happen? No, but it's just a little extra thing for the Thing fans to
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
which is cool in itself. So for me, this is like a 7 out of
Yeah.
10. It's not great, it's not bad. If you're a Thing fan, it's
Hmm.
watchable and it adds a little bit to it. But also, you could completely ignore this and just watch the Thing 1982 and be perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
It could definitely be considered a very good fan film, almost.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's it. It's an homage to the first film. Doesn't need to
Hmm.
happen, but it is cool to watch and just get a few extra little tidbits in there about how that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need to watch it, I
Hmm.
would say.
I think you're on about like the closure at the end, how it was so good in the first one. Maybe if they'd have left that in the second one, just kind of hinted at it slightly, maybe looked at his earlobe or something, and then faded to black or something, instead of fully
Yeah,
burning him to a crisp. Maybe just the hint would have um, improved that ending even more so, as good as it was. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they could have gotten a little bit more ominous with it like the first one, but yeah, still good, still
Hmm.
watchable, decent film, I would
Yeah.
say.
Brilliant. And that in brings the end to the Alien Thing week. Um, it was great. I loved watching the films one after another. I can't wait to carry on with the remainder of the weeks that we've got going on. Yeah, it was a brilliant week, and I appreciate you coming on. I think you're the perfect man to have come on and joined me for this. Truly, obviously, so knowledgeable about them. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any notes to add to the end of this episode?
Not really. I just think that yeah, if you're a fan of any sort of horror or sci-fi, definitely watch The Thing. Definitely watch Alien. Definitely watch Aliens because they are absolute classic films. They will blow anyone away. I would say they do have their scary moments as well, so they will grab you. Thing 2011's half decent as well. If you like these, watch that as well. But three of these films are absolute
Yeah.
classics.
Very true. Very true. Okay, in the as we're doing a whole Halloween marathon, can you give us your favorite Halloween, not necessarily Halloween, but favorite horror movie of all time that everyone needs to go and watch?
Favorite horror movie? Oh
You
my
can give me
god!
a,
Well, do you know what? Leading into science fiction
yeah.
horror, I would say another film that you need to watch that probably not that many people have seen. There's a film called Event Horizon that is genuinely a terrifying science fiction horror
Okay.
film that kind of pays homage to these two films, but adds in some very scary extra
Okay.
elements. Yeah, I think that the Event Horizon is a must-watch horror movie. If you like these, definitely watch Event Horizon. It's fucking
Okay.
incredible.
Awesome. I've taken note. I will have to check that out. Not one I've ever heard of, but if it comes recommended from you, then it must be good. Right. Go ahead
It is great.
and plug yourself. Where can people find you? What are you doing at the moment?
I'm working on some not horror movie stuff, some Halloween stuff as well for my channel. So I've got a couple of videos in the pipeline at the moment. So yeah, I'll be releasing some stuff across
Cool.
October because I love Halloween and horror and all that sort of stuff. It's more music based with
Mhm.
horror, but yeah, I also done a few videos last year that I feel like are really underrated and weren't watched by many people. My channel wasn't that big at that point, so I'm probably gonna get people to go
Yeah.
back to those at some point and
Mhm.
recommend them to all the people. But yeah, if you haven't listened to me, Simon Bond on YouTube, of course, the Dear Download podcast. If you don't know that, we're doing that every couple of weeks. And yeah, I have a baby, so life is
He's a
hard.
busy man, and he still found time to come and talk to me about Halloween horror movies and shit for a
Mm,
few hours. So
mm.
hats off to the man. I really appreciate you. Love your ways.
Thanks,
It's
dude.
been a pleasure, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Oh,
Join
100%.
me for another movie um, experience. We'll find
Tells.
another franchise to dive into. I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. 100%. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me,
Sweet.
dude.
Right. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.